Infinite projection room begins with the projection of Ultron's world destruction. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51, The Weeping Little Spider. Time acceleration begins again. 60,000 hours, or 6 Earth years, have passed. The giant particle accelerator has completed 20,000 trisomy hours. It was a beautiful day in the Heng era. The sky was azure blue, and the weather was fine. All the trisomy people were watching this particle accelerator, just as all the trisomy people were watching the expedition fleet 80,000 hours ago. With the order issued, the giant particle accelerator began to operate. After a long time, the trisomy scientific and technical personnel announced the results of the first experiment. It failed. When they reduced the dimensionality of the proton, they reduced one more dimension. The proton is now in a one-dimensional state. So you have created an infinitely long line. The trisomy leader asked Feedly to be precise. From a theoretical calculation, its length is a little over 5,000 light hours. You spent the resources of a space fleet and got this result. The words of the military governor sounded very much like those who strongly oppose the country's plan to build an atomic bomb at all costs. The thinking of the common people. It's a scientific experiment. There's always a debugging process. This is the first time to carry out the experiment. I think I understand. Dimensionality reduction. Reduce the dimensionality of the proton. I understand too. It turns out that this method is used. Incredible, but it feels a little not so great. But the other party is also an alien who can control the dimension and reduce the dimension. This technology, since the other party can reduce the dimension, can it increase the dimension? This Wolverine. No, they understand gods and demons again. Question mark? Wanda, I'm really fed up with this group of Riddlers. I feel that Tony Stark in our world doesn't have such a serious disease. Magneto, Kit, these guys are actually quite normal before they are exposed to this video called 3-body. Constantine, what on earth are these scientists doing? They spent a spaceship that can build a space fleet just to create a super long line. Strange. To be precise, a proton is turned into a line that is 1.5 thousand light hours long. I personally guess it should be a line with a length of 1.5 light years. Wolverine looked at Strange's words and suddenly felt something was wrong. However, considering that he was a poor student in physics, he asked Professor X, who was thinking hard, "Boy, isn't year a time? How can it be used to say how long something is?" Logan. Professor X was already talking to Logan in a begging tone. There are books about this in the library. Just go and have a look. Just consider it as me begging you, okay? A light year is the distance that light travels in a year. In a vacuum, the speed of light is 299,792,458 meters per second, which is close to 290 million to 300 million meters, or close to 300,000 kilometers per second. 1 light year is 300, 000 asterisk 60 asterisk 60 asterisk 24 asterisk 365 equals 9,460, 800, 000 kilometers. 9.4608 billion kilometers. And the equator is only 40,000 kilometers long. Light can run across the equator 7 times in a second in a vacuum. Logan, don't tell me you don't even know what the equator is. Logan looked aside silently. It seems necessary to go to the library after the live broadcast ends. By the way, what did they understand? I don't know about that either. The professor said with a wry smile. This is really the first time I want to read someone's mind so much. In the projection room, the discussion of the 3 Riddlers has not yet ended, and the video has started playing again. 53 body hours later, the 2-dimensional expansion of the proton was carried out for the second time. This time, people on the ground quickly saw the strange sign. When the heatsink of the fusion power station emitted a red light, several huge objects suddenly appeared at the location of the accelerator. They were all in very regular geometric shapes, including spheres, tetrahedrons, cubes and cones. Shikily, 3-dimensional. This time it is 3-dimensional. Bruce Wayne, sure enough, we were not wrong. Tony Stark, it would be great if they could do it a few more times. If I could see the appearance of objects in 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional and other dimensions, even if it was just one glance, I would sell the Avengers building. Captain America, what are they talking about? Strange, the Trisolarans reduced the proton from a high dimension to 3 dimensions. If I'm not wrong, the Trisolarans want to reduce the proton's dimension to a 2-dimensional plane. Tony Stark, yes, Doctor. This is also our guess. Reduce the proton's dimension to a 2-dimensional plane, and then carve on it. Shikily, according to the previous 1-dimensional and current 3-dimensional protons, the area of the proton, after becoming 2-dimensional will be very large, so large that it is not impossible to wrap the entire Trisolarian planet! Exclamation mark. Bruce Wayne, in this case, it is very simple for the Trisolarians to transform the proton. Constantine, so what you mean is that they want to use a piece of paper that is big enough to wrap the planet to invade the Earth? Wrap the Earth so that the Earth cannot see the sun? Tony Stark, why do you think that they can only reduce the dimension but can't raise the objects that have been lowered back? Constantine, my god, this thing is much more complicated than black magic. Wang, you also practice black magic? That thing is quite dangerous. Constantine, who cares? Black magic, white magic, witchcraft, or some other messy things, as long as it can be used to deal with demons. I have learned a lot. I don't care about black and white magic. If I can eliminate demons, it is good magic! Exclamation mark. Wolverine, it looks like we have a real wizard here. Constantine, correct me, I'm an exorcist, not a wizard, but I do know a lot of wizards. Peter Parker, are we off topic? Aren't we talking about dimensions and protons? Loki, human boy, I have to correct you. Except for those 3 guys, no one here is seriously discussing those things. Captain America, because we don't understand it at all. Wolverine, to be honest, it's a bit too much for you to ask an old guy who has lived for more than 100 years to figure this out. Wanda, you are already more than 100 years old? Should I call you grandpa? Wolverine Logan, girl, in terms of age, I can indeed be your grandpa, but my ability is rapid self-healing, and my cell recovery ability is extremely strong, so I have always been immortal and youthful. Wanda, wow. Forever youthful. Magneto, that's right, this is the power of us mutants. Wanda's eyes were full of stars at this moment. Although she was the Scarlet Witch with the power to destroy the world, and was related to the god of the underworld, Sithan, she was essentially just a girl in her 20s. How could she not care about her appearance? When she heard that the other party could stay young forever, she was immediately excited. Peter Parker looked at Magneto on the left, who was promoting the mutant as the best in the world, and then looked at Constantine on the right, who was discussing various magic with Doctor Strange, Wong, and Loki, and finally looked at the scientific research trio. So he tragically discovered that no matter which side he was on, he couldn't get a word in. This screening room is full of big guys, and I'm just an ordinary person. Peter sat on the sofa silently, holding a bottle of drink that he didn't know what it was, but it was particularly suitable for his taste, and drank it. My life is just like lying like this. I can't do anything else except lying down. I'm still in the car now, and it's estimated to take 2 or 3 hours to get to school. Chapter 52. Where did Ancient One go? The 3-dimensional protons had a significant impact on the entire Trisolaran planet. If the Trisolarans had not acted quickly enough, the Trisolaran planet would have entered the chaotic era ahead of time. The military executive expressed great anger about this. But the experiment continued. The black hole of the singularity in zero-dimensional expansion. The microcosmic civilization. Tony Stark acted like a primary school student who was in class for the first time, a person who had been hungry for 3 days and could not eat meat without seeing a roasted whole lamb, and a drunkard who had quit drinking for a long time and was about to die of thirst, madly absorbing the knowledge revealed in the video. Tony Stark is a genius, but no matter how talented he is still limited by the limitations of the times. The development of science is all based on the shoulders of predecessors. Research with experience and information is completely different from exploration without information and starting from scratch. It's like if you throw him into primitive society, even if he is a genius, he can't mash a time machine with stones and wood. The only one who can do this is Tom and Mr. Krabs. Tony Stark knows the preciousness of this knowledge. The third experiment of proton two-dimensional expansion was conducted 30 trisomic hours later, this time at night. The accelerator ring in space could not be seen from the ground. Only the red cursor on the heatsink of the fusion power station next to it indicated its position. Shortly after the accelerator was started, the scientific Archon announced that the expansion was successful. This time, the dimensionality reduction of the proton was successful. The proton was reduced to 2 dimensions and turned into an extremely huge plane. This is a true geometric plane without thickness. Because the fully reflective proton plane reflects all sunlight back to space, winter has arrived, and the temperature of the trisomic world has dropped sharply, and finally dropped to the level of the 3 flying stars that caused the destruction of many rounds of civilization. Most of the trisomic people entered a state of dehydration, and the dark earth was dead silent. Finally, after thousands of spacecraft worked for 15,000 trisomic hours and the software was debugged for another 5,000 trisomic hours, the time for the first test run of the Sophon arrived. Now, the Sophon is born. We have endowed a proton with intelligence. This is the smallest artificial intelligence we can create, said the scientific Archon. The Trisolarian leader looked at the huge plane above and said, but in our opinion, it is the largest artificial intelligence now. We will increase the dimension of this proton, and it will soon become smaller. After that, the scientific Archon typed a question on the control terminal. Sophon number 1, is the spatial dimension control function normal? Normal. Sophon number 1 can activate the spatial dimension control function at any time. Sophon's answer was displayed on the screen. Shrink the dimension to 3 dimensions. With the order of the Trisolarian scientific Archon, the giant plane surrounding the Trisolarian star quickly shrank and turned into a huge sphere. Then it was 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions, and 6 dimensions. In the 6-dimensional state, Sophon looked at the Trisolarians just like the Trisolarians in 3 dimensions looking at 2-dimensional creatures on a plane. Not only could he see the Trisolarians, but he could also see the Trisolarians' internal organs. Can it penetrate the earth or our bodies? Not penetrate, but enter from a higher dimension. It can enter any closed space in our world. This is also the relationship between us in 3 dimensions and the 2-dimensional plane. We can easily enter a circle on the plane from above, while the 2-dimensional creatures on the plane can never do so, unless it breaks the circle. Captain America, wait, does that mean that Akachiko can directly enter the human body to cause damage, directly enter a person's brain, and destroy the brain structure? Exclamation mark. As a veteran and experienced commander, Captain America realized the horror of this thing at the first time. Nick Fury on the side also realized it. Not to mention how terrifying this thing is for intelligence gathering. Even if the dumbest method is used, assassinating the Earthlings one by one, it can kill the Earthlings to extinction in 400 years. As soon as Captain America's words came out, everyone panicked. Loki, if this thing can really attack directly from a higher dimension, then the Earthlings in that world can just wait to die. 1. There is no way to fight it. Even if it is magic, I have never heard of any kind of magic that can attack things in higher dimensions. No, maybe there really is. Strange, King? Are you sure? King, I remember that Master Ancient One once told me, but I don't remember it very clearly. Wanda, no way. How could you forget such an important thing? King, it was just a casual conversation. At that time, Master Ancient One just mentioned that matter as a joke. Little girl, not all people can remember everything like Strange. And it was just a sentence. Avengers building. Captain America asked. Master Ancient One didn't leave her phone number before leaving? Or, Master Mordo, do you know? Everyone looked at a black man in a cloth robe. This person is a representative of Kamatage, Master Mordo. After all, Master Ancient One is the Supreme Sorcerer. Although this Supreme Sorcerer has been working for too long, and is impatient and ready to run away, her sense of responsibility still makes her bite the bullet, and continue to work, until she finds a suitable successor. The wizards in Marvel are the type who believe in fate. Unlike me in the East who still wants to live for another 500 years, they are really like the god of hell tells him to die at 5 am, and he can't wait to report at 3 am. After all, after death, he can travel the multiverse with the eternal god. Who would want to be a 007 social animal on Earth? It's okay to work all year round, but those people who challenge the club are more difficult to deal with than one another. What the hell, break it up. Hurry up and hand in your shift, and go out to hang out. Mordo said seriously, I have never remembered the Ancient One saying anything like that, and I haven't seen any similar books in the library. As for the phone number, although Kamatage has many modern facilities, there are only landlines. Then don't you know how to transmit voice over a long distance? Dr. Banner asked. What is that? It's using mental power or something to send a message to companions thousands of miles away. I've read a lot of novels, and these are basic operations. As long as you cultivate your primordial spirit, you can use it. Or it's a sound transmission note, which can be used by any cultivator in the key training stage who has cultivated magic power. Doctor, are you off topic? Dr. Banner sat back with an embarrassed look on his face. Okay, could you please trouble this wizard to go back and ask Master Ancient One? Nick Fury said with a dark face. Although we are not facing the threat of the Trisolarans now, no one can guarantee that we will not encounter enemies with similar technology in the future. We must make plans in advance. But, Mordo said with embarrassment, Master Ancient One specifically told me not to disturb her unless it is important, and to write down the content of the live broadcast in a notebook and bring it back to her. Otherwise, I will mark this question as a key point. Master Ancient One needs to protect the entire Earth from being invaded by extra-dimensional demons from other worlds. This is an extremely difficult job. You have to understand. Okay, it seems that this is the only way. The author's Wonderful Ideas series. I rode a shared electric bike to buy food today and suddenly thought of a question. What do you think? If I parked the shared electric bike outside the store and it was taken away by some bastard, I returned the bike in a rage, and his bike was locked and stopped on the road, and he was killed by the car behind him. Whose fault is this? Chapter 53 Bugs. As time went by, all 4 Sophons were built. 2 of the Sophons, Sophon 1 and Sophon 2, flew to Earth at a speed infinitely close to the speed of light. In this way, the journey that originally took 400 years can be completed in just 4 years. And due to the characteristics of the Sophons themselves, they can draw energy from the vacuum. In other words, there is no need to worry about energy issues, and then, the strongest function of the Sophons is to lock down human civilization's research in dimensions. If you want to destroy the Sophons, you must have a very high level of technology in dimensions. But if you want to have enough achievements in dimensions, you must use particle accelerators. But the particle accelerators have been turned into a pile of scrap metal by the Sophons. In this way, a dead loop is formed. A dead loop that locks up the technology of the Earthlings. Even if the Earthlings want to win by numbers, it won't work. A Sophon can control at least more than 10,000 particle accelerators. Not to mention the resources and time required to build a large number of particle accelerators. Even if the Earth builds a large number of particle accelerators, the 3-body site can continue to manufacture Sophons. Even if hundreds of intelligent beings are added together, they are not as big as a bacterium. In this case, the technology of Earth civilization will be locked forever. Forever. The Earthlings will never be able to break free of this shackles by relying on their own strength. Is that so? Terrible technology. If it were us, how would we deal with this situation? The 3 scientists fell into deep thought. The 3 of them had automatically entered the Earth in the 3-body world and regarded the 3-body people as their imaginary enemies. Mr. Hickory, can I ask you something? Parker asked cautiously. Why do you say that destroying the particle accelerator will lock down the technology of the Earthlings? Hickory turned his head and said, Kid, this is a complicated matter. To put it simply, the Trisolaran destruction of the particle accelerator actually destroyed humanity's research on basic physics. If humans in the Trisolaran world want to make progress in technology, they must study microscopic physics, and the function of the Sophon is to destroy and affect the data of human research in the microscopic world, so that humans cannot obtain correct data. and can only conduct research on the existing basis. Then, is the current basic physics not enough? Not enough. Not enough at all. Tony Stark said, although I can't imagine what high-tech weapons the Trisolaran space fleet has, after watching the information from the Sovereign, I can conclude that the weapons carried by the Trisolaran fleet are definitely not things like laser cannons in science fiction movies. I can build that kind of thing, let alone the Trisolarans. Hickory, if it were you, what weapons would you equip this fleet with? Tony asked. Here, Hikaru is the only one who fits the description of high-tech alien. Tony also discovered that the other party's technological level is indeed terrifyingly high. It's hard to say. Hikaru shook his head. The spaceships of the Kingdom of Light are generally used for transportation, because ordinary spaceships are not as powerful as our own, so our research content rarely includes weapons. My current research content is still aimed at electronic viruses of electronic enemies like Ultron. As for the microscopic world, I'm sorry, the Kingdom of Light has not launched similar projects so far. The technological development of each world is different. The technological development of our world and the Trisolaran world is not of the same type. At least in our world, I have never heard of scientists studying the microscopic world and dimensionality. Then if the Trisolarans invade your world? Bruce shut up halfway through the question. What if the technology is locked? If the Trisolarans really dare to invade the Kingdom of Light, according to what Hikaru said about the combat power of the Kingdom of Light, it would be fine if the Kingdom of Light could not find the Trisolarans' hometown. If the Kingdom of Light found it, I'm afraid it would be blown up along with the surrounding suns in a matter of minutes. If it's the Sovereign invasion. Hikari scratched his head in distress and said helplessly, the only way I can think of so far is to go to the monster cemetery and catch a Bruton. What the hell? In the video, the Trisolarans use the Sovereign not only as a lock to lock the development of human technology. In fact, there are only 3 accelerators on Earth that have reached the energy level required to produce breakthrough research results. Sovereigns 1 and 2 will be almost idle after arriving on Earth. In order to make full use of their working ability, in addition to interfering with the 3 accelerators, we have also arranged other tasks for the Sovereigns. They will become the main technical means to implement the miracle plan. Miracle plan? Yes, the retinas of Earthlings are similar to those of us Trisolarans, so we can use Sovereigns to create some pictures and texts in front of their eyes. If the above is just a joke, then the giant miracle that will happen next can scare those insect scientists to death. Sovereigns can make the cosmic background radiation in their eyes flash as a whole. Fuck exclamation point quote asterisk 3. The 3 scientists' faces turned pale when they heard this. Loki, did you hear that? You are all bugs. Wanda, really? The god who was lifted up and thrown around by bugs. Loki, you damn human girl. Captain America, those 3 body people called us bugs. Constantine, if those guys are really that strong, it's okay to call them bugs. Those guys in heaven call humans lambs. Wanda, oh my god, no. Bruce Wayne, who is not only a scientist, but also the greatest strategist and one of the smartest brains in the CD universe, soon found out that something was wrong. He said that the Sovereign can make the cosmic background radiation in their eyes flicker as a whole, not that it can make the cosmic background radiation flicker as a whole. It can make the cosmic background radiation in their eyes flicker as a whole. The key point is, in their eyes. I understand, an illusion? Tony Stark's heart finally settled down a little. However, even if it is an illusion, if it can be used well, it can also cause the internal collapse of the Earthlings. Hikari said worriedly, in my world, there are also invaders who try to provoke the internal unity of the Earthlings in a similar way. Of course, they were all defeated, but when faced with an opponent like Sovereign, I really can't think of any other way. Yes, as long as that group of Trisolarans know a little bit of strategy, humans will collapse. Bruce Wayne said bluntly, only the wisest and the stupidest are steadfast, and the middle will be in chaos. And in this case, I'm afraid even these 2 cannot be avoided. That's not the case. Hikari said, have faith in the Earthlings. Although I haven't been to the Earth, I have heard from the Ultra Brothers that the Earthlings are a race that can create miracles. They can do things that even we Ultramen can't do, and this is not yet done. Have faith in the Earthlings and other universes. The other 2 smiled bitterly. They didn't expect that the two Earthlings were encouraged by an alien to have faith in the Earthlings. Wolverine, it's embarrassing, but what is cosmic background radiation? Try to make it simple and easy to understand. Alfred, cosmic background radiation is isotropic or blackbody form and anisotropic microwave radiation from the background of space. In simple terms, it is the parameter of the Big Bang. Magneto, can it be more simple? Alfred. Thanos. Foolish Earthlings, what this means is that controlling the cosmic background radiation means controlling the universe. Thanos, those three bodies are intimidating Earthlings in this way, especially those physicists on Earth. Magneto, first of all, I'm a mutant, not an Earthling. Secondly, is the power of the cosmic background radiation so strong? Can controlling it control the universe? Thanos. For some reason, Magneto felt a strong sense of contempt. Humph, anyway, my strength is the most important. Wait until I draw a card that can enhance my strength. This poor guy, oh, he's a mutant and he didn't know that he gave up a card that would make him super awesome. Electromagnetic effect, do you know something about it? My god, you can't even write a novel without some knowledge these days. I spent a full hour trying to figure out what cosmic background radiation and electromagnetic effect are, and I still didn't understand. Chapter 54 Who Stays and Who Leaves? On the screen, the communication between the Trisolarians has come to an end. In other words, we can communicate with the Earthlings in real time through the Sophan? That's right. Then if we tell them that we want to exterminate the Earthlings by prohibiting reproduction, what do you think will be the consequences? There should be two results. One is to make the Earthlings abandon all illusions and fight to the death, and the other is to make their society degenerate and collapse in despair and fear. Based on a careful study of the information we have received about Earth's civilization, we believe that the latter is more likely. While the Trisolarians are discussing, a new era of chaos begins. The story of the Trisolarian planet has come to an end. Let's bring our perspective back to Earth. Wanda, my god, he finally knows that it's time to die for the fragments. Magneto, this time, there is no fragment, but the complete version is played for us. Thanos, what do you mean? What fragment? 1. The screening room played many videos before, but they all stopped halfway through, deliberately leaving half to whet our appetite. Constantine, damn, this behavior is even more evil than Satan. I have never seen such a vicious thing. 1. To be honest, I have read many novels whose authors do the same thing, and some even simply don't write about it. We call this behavior eunuch. Wonder, why? What does eunuch mean? 1. This. Sister, I can't answer this question. The video continues after UNG met LUOG, the Trisolaran organization on Earth that she led, was breached by the Earth government. And the information of the Trisolarans was also leaked to ordinary Earthlings. It is also possible that it was not leaked by the Earth side. So the focus of society changed in an instant, and everything began to be related to aliens. There was even something like an escape fund. It is probably to buy a ticket for an escape spaceship for future generations now. The Trisolarians also decided to stop the human race from escaping, but a leader of the Earth Trisolarian said, "My lord, you don't need to worry about this issue at all. A large-scale human escape will not happen." Why? Human technology is capable of developing spacecraft for escape. My lord, this is not a technical issue. Then is it a dispute between countries? Developed countries have the power to force this plan regardless of the opposition of developing countries. It is a dispute between people, that is, the question of who will leave and who will stay. In our opinion, it is not a problem. The Trisolarians replied through Sophan. The Earth Trisolarian said, "No, this is an insurmountable obstacle on Earth. Can you explain it? This involves the basic values of mankind. Once the escape plan is established, human society will immediately fall into collapse. We can't understand it." Yes, my lord, so you need us. But soon the Earth government announced a ban on escapism and regarded this behavior as a crime against humanity. Peter Parker, why? Ordinary people don't have the power to fight against the Trisolarans, so why don't they let them escape? Do they have to stay on Earth and wait to die? Bruce Wayne, child, you are still too young. Bruce Wayne, Who goes and who stays? Have you ever thought about it? Peter Parker, of course. Peter turned off the engine, and he couldn't say who should go and who should stay. Bruce Wayne, escape from the universe is impossible to achieve. The key is who goes and who stays. Bruce Wayne, no one will back down on the matter of staying alive. Bruce Wayne, maybe there are parents who are willing to sacrifice for their children, but most people can't do it. Besides, even if parents sacrifice themselves, what if their children are not chosen? Bruce Wayne, escape is impossible. Bruce Wayne, as long as not everyone can escape, then even if there is only one person left, that person will try his best to make others die with him. Lug, who had been communicating with UNG before, was waking up from a bed in a hotel. He was thinking about the name of the woman he had spent the night with. At this time, a special narration appeared. Lug had forgotten the other person's name. Of course, he certainly didn't dare to say it, because the consequences would be disastrous. This story tells us that excessive indulgence is not conducive to memory. Wanda, TSK, men. Lug smoked a cigarette on the bed, and his female companion combed her hair. The feeling between the two was not like a couple at all. Look at you, you are also a scholar. The female companion said disdainfully. Young scholar. Lug added. The two chatted casually and talked about escapism. They actually said that anyone who tried to escape would be shot down with missiles. That's really mean. No, that's quite smart. I've read a novel before, and there was a plot like this. When the whole city was about to sink into the sea, a group of people went door to door to search for lifebuoys, and destroyed them all, because if everyone couldn't survive, then no one would survive. The thing that impressed me the most was a little girl who led those people to the door of a house, and excitedly said that they still had lifebuoys at home. Anyway, I couldn't survive, so why didn't I let a few more people be buried with me? The two of them had breakfast and talked about the issue of future generations. Anyway, the end of the world has nothing to do with me, because our great family will be extinct in my place. Then you are really filial. I'm being responsible. Do you know what kind of life their descendants will have? They will work hard all day in the shipyard that builds spaceships. Then they will line up in the collective canteen, just waiting for the ration spoonful of porridge. Grow up a little bit, young man. The earth needs you. Join the army with honor. After breakfast, the two came to the door of the hotel to say their final goodbyes. Because the female companion threw her bag fiercely before leaving, Lug still remembered that it was an LV bag. There was metal on the bag, and it was thrown towards Lug's face. In order to avoid the bag, Lug took a step back and tripped over a fire hydrant close to the back of his calf and fell on his back. This saved Lug's life, and by the way, saved the life of the entire earth. The next second, a car rushed over. My head hurts. The Education Bureau will come to inspect us next week. By the way, this rhythm. I have decided not to ignore your opinions. It won't work if it's too fast or too slow. It won't work if there are too many or too few character dialogues. It won't work if there are too many or too few plot contents. Do you think I have returned from the world? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, Master of Tactics. Lug was first investigated, and then he was taken to the United Nations. Lug would not mistake this place, because only this place would have this famous building, a statue of a revolver with a knot in the barrel. At this moment, Lug knew that, in order to resist the attack of the Trisolarians, the United Nations had changed its name, and the current United Nations was renamed the Planetary Defense Council. At the meeting, the Secretary General announced the list of wall facers of the Wall Facer Project, and reviewed the Wall Facer Project. The origin of the Wall Facer Project came from the information obtained from the Trisolarian organization that had been breached. There, the Earth government learned about the existence of Sophan. Due to the special nature of Sophan, the Earthlings have no secrets at all in front of the Trisolarians. As mentioned before, Sophan can directly observe the lower dimension from the higher dimension. It's like people in 3-dimensional space can directly enter a 2-dimensional plane circle from a high place, but people in 2 dimensions can't do it. They can only enter by breaking this circle. In front of Sophan, the Earthlings have no privacy and secrets at all. This is an excellent spy. But there are things that Sophan cannot see through. That is human thinking. Moreover, the Earthlings have discovered a fatal weakness of the Trisolarans. That is, the Trisolarans have no ability to lie. In the Trisolaran society, there is no concept of lies. But in this regard, humans are experts. So, the Wallfacer project was born. Question begins. In the case of a GD disadvantage, how should the Earthlings of the Trisolaran world fight back? In other words, what do you think the Wallfacer project should be? Hint, the answer has been said. Correct answer, reward 1 live broadcast on demand next time. Wrong answer, draws a pain card. Strange said it. Strange thought quickly. His ability to remember everything came into play at this time. Strange quickly recalled every clip that appeared before. From the previous images, the key to the Wallfacer project should be the man named Lug, and the conversation between this man and Ung, the leader of the Trisolaran organization on Earth, must have played a significant role, otherwise it would not be possible to release these separately. Laws for the survival of civilization? This is the most reliable information so far. The first requirement of civilization is survival, and the Trisolarians don't have the ability to lie. So, is it a lie? Exclamation mark. Loki, my answer is that the Earthlings will select a group of top-level liars, and then let those liars lead them to win this battle. Wanda, what nonsense are you talking about? Exclamation mark. Loki, what did I say wrong? The Trisolarians don't lie, and don't know how to deceive. In this case, they must start with the strengths of the Earthlings and the weaknesses of the Trisolarians. Isn't this the ability to lie and deceive? Loki answered correctly, and he will be rewarded with 1 chance to request on demand next time. The purpose of the Wallfacer project is to find the best strategists and tactical masters on Earth, and then give these Wallfacers the power of a dictator, so that they can lead humans to defeat the Trisolarians. Because the Trisolarians can obtain the actions of the Wallfacers through the Sophans, but they cannot know the thoughts of the Earthlings through the Sophans. The Wallfacer needs to deceive the Trisolarians, the Earthlings, other Wallfacers, and everyone except himself. The thinking of the Earthlings is inexplicable to the Trisolarians. So, this weird-looking Wallfacer plan was born. This plan is too irresponsible. Bruce Wayne frowned and said, handing the power of almost a dictator to a few people. But in that case, this is almost the only way. Tony said, in the information revealed in the video, this is the only advantage of the Earthlings. That is, there are no mutants like us in that world. Otherwise Charles's mental reading can completely break the situation. Magneto said with disdain, sure enough, my great mutant is invincible. Loki, haha, after seeing that the humans on that Earth are not stupid enough, they really chose the most cunning liar in the world to lead mankind. Wanda, hey. How can you talk like that? He is clearly a master of tactics. Loki, what victory master? It's just a liar who needs to deceive 2 worlds. If I were to go to that world to lead the Earthlings in that world would never lose. Bruce Wayne, that's right. I've read some books about military affairs, and there's a sentence that I remember clearly, which is, the essence of war is deception. If you can completely deceive the enemy before the war, then the war is basically won, unless the gap in strength between the enemy and us is too big. Wanda, fighting is deception? Loki, that's right. So Loki, should be the god of war, Loki. Tony Stark, oh my god, don't. If any unlucky person believes you, he will lose every time he believes you. Bruce Wayne, isn't this the god of war as in Greek mythology? He is only responsible for fighting, and doesn't care about winning or losing. Loki, you damn mortal. Captain America, but can the Earth in that world really implement the plan smoothly? Wanda, Captain, this is not difficult. The Wallfacers have almost dictatorial power, and only they know the plans of the Wallfacers, and the Trisolaran Sophans can't read minds, so can't they win? Captain America, no. Wanda, I'm not worried about the Wallfacers, but the Earthlings in that world. Captain America, no matter how powerful the wall faces are, they are given by the Planetary Defense Council. As long as the Planetary Defense Council takes back the power, the wall faces will instantly become ordinary people. Bruce Wayne, even because of the huge power they have, when they serve as wall faces, when they lose power, their fate may be worse than that of ordinary people. Wonder why? Wolverine, girl, don't underestimate the darkness of human hearts. When the wall faces lose power, there will definitely be guys who don't like them and come out to make trouble for the wall faces. If the wall faces themselves have other powers, it's fine. If they are just ordinary people like Log, then his future life may be. Wonder, no way. When I lost my family and wandered around, I was also looked down upon and bullied, but this is too weird. Just because you lived better than me before, but now you are not as good as me, I have to bully you? Wolverine, girl, believe me, this is not that. There are so many more outrageous things. These people at least have a reason. Some people's reason is even that I don't like you, and I want to bully you. Even he has no reason, just want to bully you. I have seen a lot of this kind of garbage. Wonder, oh my god. Before the book is put on the shelves, I will not read the book reviews and chapter reviews, it is tiring, and then I will try to speed up the content of the three-body problem, and describe it in a way that ordinary people can understand. I will skip some physics knowledge, but I will not skip the most exciting parts of the Dark Forest. Whether it is the 4th chapter or the final showdown between Log and the three-body people, I will try to write it intact. Without those things, it will not have the same flavor. Chapter 56. Didn't expect it? I updated it again. Let's not talk about Wanda who was traumatized. X-Men universe. Charles Xavier, or Professor X, smiled bitterly. Logan, actually, you guys have missed one thing. What? That's the pressure of the wall facers themselves. What kind of pressure can a wall facer have? Their life in that world is even worse than that of the Emperor, right? You're wrong, Logan. Professor X shook his head and said, the life of the wall facers themselves is the most difficult. What is the responsibility of the wall facers? To protect the Earth. How do they protect the Earth? A lie? Yes. That's lying. That's the problem. Professor X said seriously, imagine that when they become the wall facers, everyone in the world will know that their mission is to lie. In other words, no one will believe you. Although all your orders will be executed, no one will trust you. No one. Professor X intentionally or unintentionally emphasized the word no one. Logan's hair stood up at the word no one. Wolverine, everyone, I have another message here. Wolverine, someone told me some information. When Wolverine passed on Professor X's words, the discussion in the live broadcast room became even more intense. Wanda, not trusted by anyone, my god. Peter Parker, such a life is simply worse than death. Peter Parker, in addition to not being trusted by anyone, and shouldering the heavy responsibility of saving the world at all times, such a life, no matter how comfortable the physical enjoyment is, it will feel extremely empty inside. Wolverine, this guy has the ability to read minds, so the people around him are also afraid that he can read their minds. Anyway, for a long time, he has been feeling the feeling of not being trusted, so he has this feeling. Loki, humph, stupid earthlings, if you can get that kind of power, what does it matter if you are not trusted? Wanda, who is like you? Tony Stark, in other words, someone can give up everything for power. Loki, that's right. Tony Stark, then you don't even want your brother? Loki, that's right. Strange, his reply time has slowed down, at least 2 seconds apart. I have reason to suspect that he hesitated and lied. Loki, shut up, mortal. 1. He is anxious. Your suspicion is established. Bruce Wayne, I remember that in the East, there is a special word to describe this situation, called sundeer. Wanda, ha 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 ha. It's sundeer. A person over 1,000 years old is still sundeer. Ultraman Hickory, oh. It's sundeer? Is it an emotion unique to Earthlings? Ultraman Ace, now that you mention it, I suddenly remembered that I have seen sundeer on Earth. Ultraman Hickory, Ace, where did you go? Ultraman Ace, I was planning to find the king, but it seems that it is not necessary now. Image continues at the meeting. The Secretary General announced the list of wall facers. The 4 wall facers are Frederick Taylor, who just stepped down as the Minister of Defense of Mexico, Manuel Diaz, the current president of Venezuela, and Bill Hines, who is both a scientist and a politician. And LUOG. LUOG was dumbfounded. He was involved in a car accident without knowing it, and then he took a plane for an unknown period of time, attended a meeting without knowing it, and became a wall facer without knowing it. Although LUOG didn't know that the car accident was not an accident at all, but a conspiracy carefully prepared by the Earth Trissolarian organization. Although his life was very confusing, LUOG was not a confused person. He knew very well what a wall facer meant. So he decisively went to the Secretary General to cancel his identity as a wall facer. To his surprise, the Secretary General agreed to his request without hesitation. Just as he was about to take a plane home, a person from the Earth Trissolarian organization attacked him. But fortunately, this is the United Nations, which should now be called the headquarters of the Planetary Defense Council. The security force is far superior to that of a certain scientific research bureau in the Kingdom of Light. The attacker was caught on the spot, and LUOG was rescued. When LUOG saw the attacker, he understood his situation under the attacker's prompt. "I don't think about getting rid of this damn identity in this life." Hiss. Looking at the desperate LUOG, a haze also appeared in everyone's heart. Ask yourself, if it were you, could you bear this kind of pressure? On the other side, the remnants of the Earth Trissolarian organization were summoned by the Trissolarians again. Although the Trissolarians had abandoned them before, when the Trissolarians discovered the wall-facing plan, they also felt a bit tricky. Although their technology can currently crush the Earthlings, and the Earthlings' technology has also been locked, but because of Avengers' previous words, the Trissolarians felt seriously uneasy. They didn't dare to gamble. But the Trissolarians don't know how to deceive, and they don't have to add skill points in the aspect of mind-reading technology. After all, the Trissolarians don't have this need. So they chose to reassemble the remnants of the Earth Trissolarians. After all, only Earthlings know how to deceive, so they have to use Earthlings to deal with Earthlings. Seeing this, Wanda couldn't stand it anymore. Wanda, are those people from the Earth Trissolarians mean? Not to mention that this is originally a traitorous act, and these guys have been abandoned by the Trissolarians once. Why did the Trissolarians run back to be dogs again? Wolverine, there are so many people on Earth, it's normal to have a few idiots, right? Bruce Wayne, I understand it a little bit. When I was practicing around the world, I also went to some poor countries. Some countries hope that those powerful countries will invade them. It would be best if they could incorporate their countries into the powerful countries and accept the leadership of the powerful countries. The Earth Trissolarians also have this mentality. Wonder, what's going on with the Earth in this world? My hometown Sokovia is also very poor, but I haven't heard that the Sokovians hope that the melee people will invade Sokovia. Loki, no, you are wrong. That man is right. The desire to be conquered runs in the blood of you Earthlings. Sooner or later, I will go back to conquer the Earth, and then the entire 9 worlds. Ultraman Ace! Exclamation mark. Seeing this, Ace, who was flying in the starry sky on a Red Bull, silently made a note in his little notebook. It seems that it is time to prepare for the name of the Light Saw Man to resound throughout the multiverse. I feel that my life as a teacher is a complete failure. I teach there, but the knowledge I teach does not enter the students' brains at all. Chapter 57. I admit that I have a gambling element. Earth Trissolarian Organization. Because of the appearance of the Wall Facer, the Trissolarians also recombined the Earth Trissolarian Organization, intending to use the Earthlings to defeat the Earthlings. The people selected to face the Wall Facer are called Wall Breakers. Wall Breakers have the power to mobilize intelligent beings 24 hours a day and can monitor the Wall Facer 24 hours a day. However, the Trissolarians only selected 3 Wall Breakers to deal with Frederick Taylor, Manuel Diaz, and Bill Hines respectively. As for the 4th Wall Facer LUOG, the Trissolarians did not arrange for a Wall Breaker to deal with him. Question begins. Why didn't the Trissolarians arrange for a Wall Breaker to deal with LUOG? 10 points will be awarded for a correct answer, and a pain card will be drawn for a wrong answer. No Wall Breaker? Is it because the threat level is too low? Tony Stark stroked his beard and said, compared with the other 3 wall faces, that man is obviously escaping. In other words, he himself does not accept the fact and identity of being a wall facer. Strange. Well, if that's really the case, as long as his power as a wall facer is not damaged, I'm afraid he will live a life that even the Emperor can't compare to in the second half of his life. Wonder why? Strange. Don't forget, the identity of the wall facer gives them supreme power. They can mobilize all resources at will, everything. Wow, that's right. Think about it. When a person's power is so great that he can mobilize nuclear bombs around the world at will, isn't it easy for him to eat delicacies every day? Bruce Wayne, that's why we have to limit power and superpowers. Wanda, they are not stupid, they won't question and oppose LUOG. LUOG can't really kill people if he wants to. Strange. First of all, a person's psychology is likely to be greatly distorted after receiving certain stimulation. LUOG is obviously an ordinary person. When an ordinary person gains such great power, no one can guarantee what will happen. Strange. Moreover, the premise of the wall facer plan is deception, absolute deception. In other words, LUOG just needs to attribute everything to part of the deception plan. Wanda, no way. This is not reasonable at all. Loki, no. This is very reasonable. Very reasonable. Too reasonable. Loki, if the wall facer needs to explain everything to other humans and needs to get the consent of those people for everything, then what is the point of this wall facer plan? Bruce Wayne, the core of this wall facer plan is that no one knows what the wall facer is thinking, and they must cooperate with the wall facer unconditionally and completely, even if their demands are ridiculous. They must be implemented, unless they are no longer wall facers. Bruce Wayne, but who can guarantee that the cancellation of the wall facer's identity is not part of the plan? Wanda, oh my god, my head is starting to feel dizzy. Then the question comes back again. Did the Trisolarans not arrange for wall breakers to deal with LUOG? Is it really because he poses no threat? No. Let's go back in time. Bruce Wayne suddenly said, at the beginning of the video, UNG, the leader of the Trisolarans, once said a few words to LUOG. Does anyone remember? Of course. First, survival is the first need of civilization. Second, civilization continues to grow and expand, but the total amount of matter in the universe remains unchanged. This leads to 2 new terms, the chain of suspicion and technological explosion. Strange said, a photographic memory is a basic skill. We already understand the chain of suspicion and technological explosion civilization. Those 2 sentences are not difficult to understand, but what is the relationship between all this? It is related. And it is a big relationship. I think the reason why the Trisolarans are so special to LUOG is most likely because of these 2 sentences. Bruce Wayne said, LUOG's previous car accident was planned by the Earth Trisolarans under the instructions of the Trisolarans. In other words, the Trisolarans believe that LUOG is extremely threatening. And the threat of LUOG comes from those words said by UNG. I think the fact that humans were able to kill the Trisolarans in the later period was definitely closely related to these few words of UNG. At the beginning, the screening room asked us why UNG told LUOG if these few words were really the key to the counterattack, and the Trisolarans were extremely loyal to the Trisolarans. Wanda, rather than saying it's loyalty, I think it's more like madness. Constantine was drinking, but he didn't smoke, because smoking was not allowed here. After seeing Wanda's words, Constantine said, yes, these guys are just like those believers, willing to sacrifice everything for God. Even if those gods want to destroy mankind, those guys will help the gods. Ha, I finally know why you can't go to heaven. So what? I can't go there anyway, and I hunt demons just to go to heaven, not really have any faith in those guys. That's right. Faith. Bruce Wayne suddenly said, I bet 30 points. The reason why UNG said that to LUOG is because she has a problem with her faith in the Trisolarians. I answer the question, why are the Trisolarians so special to LUOG? Because he is the only one who should have heard UNG's words, and UNG's words contain important information to deal with the Trisolarians, but LUOG hasn't figured it out yet. As soon as these words came out, everyone was attracted by Bruce Wayne. Answer to questions at the same time. This is not common. Bruce Wayne answered correctly, rewarded with 40 points. It seems I should be bolder. Bruce Wayne smiled and acted in a versatile manner. No, how did you come to this conclusion? Seeing everyone's puzzled expressions, Bruce Wayne explained, Mr. Constantine's words, just like believers in the word faith, gave me inspiration. Like I said before, many people in poor countries hope to have a strong country to lead them. This is a kind of admiration for the strong, and the same is true for UNG. From the information previously revealed by the Earth Trissolarian organization, many of them are extremely dissatisfied with the current situation on Earth, but they have no way to change the Earth, so they choose to seek help from a more powerful non-human being, and that non-human being is a Trissolarian. UNG should also hope to use the power of the Trissolarians to change the Earth. So the Earth Trissolarian organization shouted the slogan of eliminating human tyranny and the world belonging to the Trissolarians. What is certain is that the Earth Trissolarian organization is composed of believers of the Trissolarians. They regard the Trissolarians as gods and hope that God will save the world. But God has abandoned the world, so people no longer believe in God. That's it. I admit that I gambled, but I won. Chapter 58. After I die, I don't care about the flood. After Bruce finished speaking, the screening room also played UNG's story. Friends who have read the original novel know the background of the first part of the three-body problem, so I won't write it. The main reason is that I dare not write it. If I write it, it will really be gone. Okay, let's continue. The video continues. Sure enough, after LUOG was stabbed, he soon realized a fact, that is, he would never be able to get rid of this identity of the 8-facing wall facer in his lifetime. Because even if he said that he wanted to give up his identity, others would think that this was part of the plan. After seeing what happened to LUOG, everyone couldn't help but feel numb. This feeling of being considered a liar by everyone and everything he said was a lie was really bad. Even Loki, who was in prison in Asgard, twitched his mouth after seeing LUOG's miserable appearance. TSK, it's really a bit miserable. Just as everyone was speculating on LUOG's behavior, a new round of questions started again. Question: what will LUOG do when he finds that he can't get rid of the identity of the wall facer? A. Accept the reality calmly and live your life as you should. Use the power of the wall facer, change to a new identity, and then live an ordinary life. B. Since you can't resist, just enjoy it. Take on the responsibility of the wall facer seriously, and start to think about resisting the Trissolarians. C. I'd better die, and put an end to it all. I don't care what happens after I die. Commit suicide and end my miserable life. D. Only idiots commit suicide. I'm going to enjoy life. Use the power of the wall facer to live a life that even the Emperor can't compare to. Don't ask. Asking is part of the plan. This question and answer is a quick answer mode, and the quick answer will start in 1 minute. It seems that the questions have become more frequent this time. Yes, there were only 1 or 2 questions in each video before, but this time it's the 3rd question. Didn't I say it before? This time it's updated again, and the bug that allows people to send items to each other has been fixed. What kind of bug is this? It's obvious that it didn't think of it before, so it's fixed now. Fixing a bug is also called fixing a loophole. This can also be considered a loophole. Although they have been chatting, everyone is not relaxed at all, and most of the chats are based on gossip. The previous session required discussion, but now it's a quick answer session, and everyone has turned from teammates to opponents in an instant. Wolverine. To be honest, I really hope he is the second one, but my instinct is that he will choose D. 1. It can only be said that it is human nature. Peter Parker. Although LUOG is an ordinary person, he has obtained the secret against the Trissolarian star. Shouldn't he protect the world? Even if he is just an ordinary person, the aliens are about to invade the Earth. Shouldn't he try his best to resist? Wolverine. Boy, you can't say that. You are still too naive. This world is very complicated. You can't see everything in school. Go out more when you have time. You will understand the outside world. Peter Parker, yes, maybe this society is very complicated, but if it were me, I would never give up hope no matter what, and I would never fall to enjoy it. 1 minute passed quickly, and everyone was staring at the screen, ready to grab this wave of points that were basically given away for free. Congratulations to Wanda for answering correctly, and you will be rewarded with 10 points. Wanda's world. Ha, I finally got points. Wanda jumped up happily, and Vision, who was cooking in the kitchen, was attracted to her. Vision, you really should be here to watch with me. I just answered correctly. Vision smiled and nodded. As long as Wanda was happy, he would be happy. Peter Parker, he really went too far. Why did UNG have to tell him? Strange, child, do you remember? The place where UNG and LUOG communicated at that time. Location? Yes, the location. Strange said, at that time, LUOG was sweeping the grave of a man named Yang Dong, and Yang Dong was UNG's daughter. A mother, no matter how cold and ruthless she is, would definitely not be able to remain calm when she sees her daughter's grave. If UNG's heart is compared to a piece of solid ice, then at that time in front of Yang Dong's grave, the ice in UNG's heart also cracked. Moreover, Yang Dong did not die of illness, but committed suicide. To be precise, after Yang Dong peeked at UNG's computer and learned the horrible truth about the three-body plan, and that his mother was actually the mastermind behind the three-body organization, Yang Dong lost the confidence to live and chose to commit suicide. In other words, UNG is actually the indirect murderer who caused Yang Dong's death. She is even the murderer who killed her own daughter. Under such circumstances, how could UNG not be moved at all in front of Yang Dong's grave? It was under this premise that UNG said those words to LUOG. The reason why UNG wanted to summon the Trisolarians was because of what she had experienced on Earth before. She believed that the Trisolarians had technology far superior to humans, and should also have morality far superior to humans. Of course, facts have proved that this conjecture was just a fantasy. Hickory, offended again. So, UNG told LUOG these words, although I still don't understand whether she regretted it, or just gave humans an illusory hope, or just said it. Strange showed the professionalism of a doctor. Although he studied neurology, it did not prevent him from playing the role of a psychologist. But here is a more professional one. If I remember correctly, the previous clip seemed to implicitly express another thing. Bruce Wayne said, that is the relationship between Yang Dong and LUOG. Yes, LUOG, the scumbag, seems to have dumped Yang Dong. Maybe it's a mother's revenge on the scumbag who hurt her daughter. It is not ruled out that UNG intends to take revenge. No, UNG pushed LUOG to the position of the wall facer. According to LUOG's personality, I'm afraid he will only live a heartless life as an emperor. I can't figure it out. We don't have a mother here. Hearing about his mother, Bruce Wayne's face twitched unnoticeably. The video continues. LUOG really accepted the fact that he was a wall facer and began to choose to use the power of the wall facer to plan a better life for himself. After I die, I don't care about the floods. A brother in the group asked me for a chapter recommendation. The title is Ninja World. Peen peeked at my diary. This is the first time someone asked me, a loser like me, to recommend a chapter. I have to give it to them. JPG. To be honest, after attending the class for half a year, I have learned more than I did in the 3 years at school, but I still want to go back to school. Chapter 59. Wall Facer, I'm your wall breaker. LUOG's proposals for places were more outrageous than the last, but what was even more outrageous was that the Planetary Defense Council really satisfied all of his requests. LUOG wanted a place with snow-capped mountains, lakes, the color of the lakes had to be dark blue, forests, grasslands, and a modern manor with all the facilities. Then he would go there and spend the rest of his life. LUOG originally thought that this was impossible, but the Planetary Defense Council chose to satisfy all of his requests. Because this was part of the plan, LUOG's story was not concealed, so his story was widely circulated on the internet. Netizens played the joke of the wall facer and left comments in one comment area after another saying that this was part of the plan. For example, voting and rewarding the author is part of the plan. What's even more fucked up is that the Planetary Defense Council thought he did a good job because they had no idea what LUOG was going to do. This LUOG is really a big heart. Strange said, if it were an ordinary person, it would not be so easy. He is clearly enjoying it. Isn't it easy? Peter asked puzzledly. A person does not need to do anything, just enjoy it. Isn't this the most comfortable thing? Are you sure? Bruce Wayne asked back, if it were you, you would definitely be worried about how to resist the invasion of aliens every day. Even if you enjoy the power of the wall facer, you can't enjoy it so comfortably. One thing is right. Power and responsibility coexist. Even the Emperor will be sent to the guillotine by the people. If you change to someone with poor psychological quality, at least even if you want to enjoy it, you have to enjoy it under various pretexts. LUOG is not even acting. I'm showing my cards. I just want to use my power for personal gain. I just want to enjoy it. If you don't obey, take me down. But even so, the Planetary Defense Council can't replace him. Indeed. But this can't be the explanation for LUOG's abuse of power and irresponsible behavior. Besides, why does the Planetary Defense Council think he's doing a good job? First of all, no one can understand what LUOG is going to do. This is in line with the first point of the wall facer plan. As for the second point, I need to continue to observe before I can draw a conclusion. LUOG used the power of the wall facer to give himself a life that was not as good as that of an emperor. After all, the emperor still had the risk of being sent to the guillotine, but he didn't. Moreover, he deliberately created various problems, such as spending $300,000 to buy a bottle of wine that had been soaked in the sea for an unknown period of time. After drinking it, he almost vomited bile. But even so, the Planetary Defense Council still did not remove his power as a wall facer, even if he used extremely advanced technology just to find himself a girlfriend. While LUOG was enjoying his life, the other three wall facers were not idle either. The former Secretary of Defense, Taylor, who was in the fat dish and rice grains, chose a weapon, artificial spherical lightning. This weapon is extremely powerful, but the only drawback is that it must be operated manually. In other words, this thing is a suicide weapon like the famous M388 nuclear rocket launcher. M388 nuclear rocket launcher, a magical weapon with an explosion radius of 3 kilometers, but a range of only 2 kilometers. So, Taylor must gather a group of warriors who are not afraid of death, let them train generation after generation, until the arrival of the Doomsday War, so that they can perish together with the Trisolarian fleet. For this reason, Taylor traveled all over the world and even found organizations in the Middle East, but even the leaders of terrorist organizations still rejected Taylor's crazy request. In this way, Taylor spent 5 years just to find a warrior who could have a suicidal spirit. However, the warrior was not found, but a man came to him first. This is a plain-looking man. After he found Taylor, the first sentence he said when they met was, "Wall facer Taylor, I'm your wall breaker." After Taylor was active for 5 years, his wall breaker came to him. This was also the first wall facer to face wall breaking. A few days later, a man appeared near LUOG's manor. The wall facer, Taylor. At this moment, LUOG had married his dream lover Zuan Yan and had a child. "Please forgive my interruption, madam." Taylor, with a pale face, bowed slightly to Zuan Yan, who was walking over with the child. "Welcome, Mr. Taylor. There are not many guests here. We are very happy that you can come." Zuan Yan's still childish and soft voice and spring-like smile were like a pair of angelic hands caressing Taylor's tired heart. Taylor wanted to hug the child, but was afraid that his emotions would lose control, so he just said, "It's worthwhile to meet you two angels. You guys talk, I'll go prepare dinner." Zuan Yan smiled and looked at the two men and said, No, I just want to talk to Dr. LUOG for a while. I won't stay for a long time." When Zuan Yan left, Taylor sat on the bench by the lake. At this moment, Taylor seemed to have been drained of all his strength. "Drive LUOG, you are really a smart man." "What do you mean? At least you didn't consume too many resources, right?" Then, Taylor told LUOG that his wall breaker appeared. "So fast?" LUOG was surprised. "That's what I said after I met him," Taylor said with a miserable smile. "Do you know what he said after he met me? He said, "It could have been faster, but I wanted to collect more sufficient evidence, so it was late. Sorry." At this moment, everyone in the live broadcast room and the screening room felt extremely heavy, even frightened. The oppressive atmosphere permeated the screening room and many universes. "The tone of the wall breaker is so strange," Peter said in a slight voice. "Shouldn't they be enemies? And if the wall breaker really took 5 years to crack Taylor's plan, shouldn't he be happy and hold the mentality of a winner?" No one answered Peter, and everyone was silent at this moment. The wall breaker politely saluted Taylor. After getting Taylor's permission, the wall breaker mercilessly exposed Taylor's plan. Taylor apparently wanted to find a suicidal army and let them die with the Trisolarans. Because Bull Lightning must be used in close combat to be effective, a death squad is very important. But this is just Taylor's appearance. Taylor actually wants to kill them. The target of the Bull Lightning is not the Trisolarans, but the Earth soldiers of the Earth fleet. Some people say that giving up is 15 strokes, while insisting is 16 strokes, and insisting is only a little more than giving up. But they overlooked one thing, that is, sudden death is 17 fucking strokes. Chapter 60. Listen to my explanation. Because people who have died once cannot die again, Taylor plans to use Bull Lightning to turn them into quantum ghosts. Bull Lightning has this strange effect. When the soldiers and fleets are blown into ghost state, because they have died once, they will not die again in theory. In other words, they are invincible. But there must be a prerequisite, that is, the ghost soldiers on the ghost fleet must still be willing to fight for the Earth. That's why Taylor is looking for the kind of soldiers who completely disregard their own lives and are absolutely loyal. Faced with the revelation of the wall breaker, Taylor admitted it in astonishment. At the same time, he also asked the wall breaker a question. What will happen if what you said happens? Taylor already knew his ending, but he still wanted to know whether his plan would have any effect on the Trisolarians, and whether it could pose a threat to the Trisolarians. If he could pose a threat to the Trisolarians, even if it was only a little bit, then his life as a wall facer would be considered a success. The Lord doesn't care. The wall breaker ruthlessly shattered Taylor's last hope. "Mr. Taylor, the Lord doesn't care whether it's living people or ghost fleets. The Lord doesn't care. In the eyes of the Trisolarans, the people on Earth are just like bugs. No matter how they jump around, the Trisolarans won't care about these bugs." Taylor's hope was shattered. He waved his hand and drove away the wall breaker without having anyone arrest him and put him in jail. Second, the conversation between the wall breaker and Taylor was posted on the internet. The Planetary Defense Council quickly made a ruling. The wall facer's plan cannot harm human life. But this is not the most devastating thing for Taylor. What makes Taylor devastated is that the bastards on the Planetary Defense Council actually think that this is also part of his plan as a wall facer! Exclamation mark. Fuck. Taylor was on the verge of mental collapse. He ran to the square and shouted frantically, "I'm the wall facer Frederick Taylor. My wall breaker has successfully exposed my strategy. He is right. I will use Bull Lightning to destroy the Earth fleet. I will turn them into quantum ghosts to fight. I want to kill people. I'm against humanity. I'm a devil. Punish me, kill me." But no one believed it. When everyone looked at Taylor, they all smiled, as if they were facing the wall facer. Look how hard he performed, how dedicated he was, how. This group of idiots. Taylor yelled frantically, "This group of idiots. Idiots. Idiots." Log was speechless. He could only smile at Taylor silently. "Ha, you laughed too." Taylor's pale face seemed to be narrating his inner despair. "Ha ha ha, you laughed. The laugh at the wall facer. One wall facer is the laugh of another wall facer. You also think I'm working. You also think how well I pretend. You think I'm continuing to save the world. Ha ha ha, how could we be put in such a ridiculous situation?" Log comforted him, saying that this was a vicious circle that none of them could escape from. "Drive Log, you are the smartest wall facer. You consumed the least resources and got rid of those damn idiots. But we have a way to get rid of this vicious circle. I'm here to tell you how to get rid of it." Log invited him to stay here and rest for a few days, but Taylor just said he wanted to be alone for a while. Log walked by the lake and suddenly understood the method Taylor said. Then, he heard a gunshot. Late at night, LUOG return home. The wall facer Taylor committed suicide? Peter asked tentatively. Kid, this is already clear. Tony said, if we don't experience it ourselves, we can't feel it, no matter how much we watch it here. In comparison, LUOG is indeed much smarter. From the overall perspective, he didn't waste too many resources. From his own perspective, LUOG has made himself live very well. If it were you, would you do the same as him, sir? Me. Tony stroked his beard and said, I definitely wouldn't just want one woman. Come on, Stark. Strange said from the side, if it were you, you would have started to make all kinds of weapons crazily a long time ago. Loki, those people in the Planetary Defense Council are also idiots. They actually restricted the wall facers and didn't let them sacrifice their lives. There was no hope of winning in the first place, and now they are pushing themselves to a dead end. Peter Parker, I think the Planetary Defense Council did nothing wrong. Do we have to sacrifice some people's lives with a clear conscience? Loki, boy, do you think the people on Earth in that world live in a paradise? There will be an alien fleet with a combat power far exceeding that of the Earth's army in less than 400 years. Loki, if those Earthlings still hold on to those conservative dogmas and do not change, then the end of that Earth must be destruction. Thanos, only those Earthlings will be destroyed. The Trisolarians will not destroy the Earth. Thanos, those Earthlings are also stupid. If they can't even survive, what's the use of those non-existent rules? Thanos, if you lose your mind, you will lose a lot, but if you lose your blood, you will lose everything. Tony Stark, although the two speakers above are not good people, I agree with their meaning. The reason why Taylor wants to abandon the universal moral code is because the gap between the strength of the Trisolarians and the Earthlings is even too big. Tony Stark, the Earth's top leaders have obtained the information of Sophan. As long as those guys are not the group of idiots in the Congress of our world, they will definitely not be able to see the gap between the Trisolarians and the Earthlings. Tony Stark, it is under this premise that Taylor would choose to use such an immoral method. Loki, and the sad thing is that this guy painstakingly came up with a method that even abandoned the bottom line of being a human being, but the Trisolarians don't care at all. Loki, the Lord doesn't care, that's right, I copied it. Strange, abandoning humanity and morality just to survive? Strange smiled bitterly and said, I don't know if you know the principles of military doctors practicing medicine on the battlefield. That is, when necessary, only rescue the wounded with hope and abandon those seriously injured who may not be saved. Is it moral? It's very immoral, but it must be done. Because military doctors have to devote all their energy to rescuing living forces, it's very cruel and realistic. Peter heard what these guys said and could only clench his fists helplessly, because even if he entered the Trisolarian world, he could do nothing. The video continues. After Taylor's death, the Planetary Defense Council held a meeting again. This time, the Planetary Defense Council told LUOG that LUOG was required to attend the next meeting. The reason is that the Planetary Defense Council has more authority than the wall facers, and the Planetary Defense Council has the power to supervise the wall facers. Seeing this, Loki in the Asgard prison was amused and laughed out loud, and the laughter even attracted the attention of other prisoners and guards. The guards looked at each other and chose to report the matter. Avengers building. Loki in this world also laughed disdainfully when seeing this scene. Stupid Earthlings, if this is the case, then why do we still need to establish the wall facer plan? Report? Report to them, these idiots. Great, did the three-body wall breakers break the wall? To be honest, I even suspect that the other party has been infiltrated by the Ito. At the Planetary Defense Council, the remaining two wall facers explained their plans respectively. First, the wall facer Heinz spoke first. The reason why I updated so late today is mainly because I didn't write it. Please understand that I'm not a full-time employee, and the task of cultivating the flowers of the motherland is heavier. Chapter 61 Wallfacer LUOG, I'm your wall breaker. After the other two wall facers revealed their plans, they chose to enter hibernation and would not wake up until 20 years later, when technology allowed them to carry out their next plan. Because of Taylor's suicide, It was also confirmed that the quantum ghost fleet was true, and the society began to oppose it, and the voices demanding restrictions on the wall faces became louder and louder. A few days later, in a top-secret underground building, Diaz and Heinz entered hibernation. Seeing this scene, Loki in the Asgard prison laughed so hard that tears came out. On the temple second, Thanos sneered disdainfully. Ace, who had just arrived at the king's planet after destroying a rebellious cosmic monster on the way, could only sigh when he saw this scene, and then began to search for the figure of the King of Ultra on the king's planet. X-Men Universe. Logan curled his lips in disdain. For Logan, who had long been accustomed to life and death, the actions of the Earthlings on this Earth were indeed a bit of a backstab to his teammates. At the same time, the Planetary Defense Council no longer chose to let LUOG continue to live happily. They took away LUOG's wife and children and forced them into hibernation. Faced with LUOG, the Secretary General of the Planetary Defense Council came to LUOG's villa and told him that the reason they chose him as the wall facer was because they found an important message in the ETA organization they had breached. That is, LUOG was the person the Trisolarians wanted to kill. In the information obtained by the Earth Trisolarians, they even found such a message. That is, the Trisolarians were afraid of LUOG. So, the Trisolarians wanted to kill LUOG, and the Planetary Defense Council wanted to choose LUOG as the wall facer. For the sake of his wife and children, LUOG finally began to take it seriously and take on the responsibility of a wall facer. He began to think about why he was targeted by the ETA. Magneto finally started to work seriously, and it was because his wife and children were kidnapped. Humans are indeed inferior creatures. Peter Parker, hey. Aren't you a human? Magneto, of course I'm not a human. Exclamation mark. I'm a mutant. One, I can see it. Kit, you are the only ordinary person in this theater. Wanda, why do I feel that he is the only normal person? Ultraman Hickory, in fact, protecting your own home wholeheartedly is also a heroic act. Ultraman Ace, I support Hickory's view. Those who save the world are heroes, so aren't those who protect their loved ones and their homes heroes? Question mark. Loki, oh. Then what about destroying the world to protect your home? Ultraman Ace, to the world, he is a demon, but to the people he protects, he is a hero. It's that simple. Bruce Wayne, I heard a saying in the East, it's rare to have both in this world. I won't let you down. It probably means that there is no such thing as having the best of both worlds in this world. When two things stand on opposite sides, one of them will always get hurt. Bruce Wayne, this sentence was written by a living Buddha in Tibet. He has a lover, but because of his identity, he cannot be with his lover. If he is with his lover, he will let down Tathagata, Dharma. If he chooses Buddhist scriptures, he will let down his lover, love. Peter Parker sat down on the sofa, muttering, it is rare in the world to have both. Not let down Tathagata, not let down you. Kid, don't think too much. Hickory sat next to Peter and said, I can see that you want to save the world and save innocent lives. There is light in your heart, but responsibility and ability go hand in hand. You just need to do what you should do within your ability. For example, how about being a warm-hearted neighbor? I'm just a scientist. I don't have the power of a member of the Space Guard. So when the members of the Space Guard go out to perform missions and protect lives, I can only be one of the protected ones. But I didn't worry about it. Instead, I invented and researched seriously and used my knowledge to help the members of the Space Guard. Obviously, my invention helped a lot. Ultraman was killed by Mr. 1 Trillion Fireball. Shaffielin, Zoffy, who went to rescue him, destroyed a space fleet on the way to save an Earthling, held hostage by the invaders. It took a lot of time, and he was late. He could only collect Ultraman's body, but my invention of life solidification technology brought a second life, allowing Zoffy to save Ultraman. Look, this is my power. Speaking of which, I also have a child who is troubled by similar things. If you have the power to save the world, go and save the world. If you only have the power to take care of your family, go and take care of your family. If you can only take care of yourself, then take care of yourself, and don't let your family worry about you, okay? Well, Peter Parker accepted the teachings of light on the side, while others continued to watch the video. Although Log is a bastard, he is definitely not a fool. He soon understood that the reason why he was so special was because of the words UNG said to him. Technology explosion, chain of suspicion, law of civilization. The key to defeating the Trisolarans lies in this. He recalled UNG's words over and over again, without missing a single word. Just like the process of elimination, Log kept recalling these words, eliminating the unnecessary ones, and the remaining ones were his answers. Survival is the first need of civilization. Civilization continues to grow and expand, but the total amount of matter in the universe remains unchanged. That's right, this is it. Log was very sure that all the secrets were hidden in these two sentences. In the following days, Log was like an old monk practicing silent meditation, thinking quietly. He seemed to have reached a bottleneck at this moment. The answer was right in front of him, but he could not take that crucial step. Just like a math problem, the key formula is there. As long as you can figure it out, then the remaining dozens or hundreds of problems will be solved in front of you. As long as you can understand the most important core part. Log walked on the ice lake. Suddenly, the ice lake broke, and Log fell down. At the moment when the ice water submerged Log's head, Log felt that he was not sinking into the ice water, but jumping into the dark space. In this dead silence and cold darkness, he saw the truth of the universe. When Log was rescued, his first words were, "Wallfacer Log, I'm your wall breaker. Today is Friday, it's reasonable for me to take a break." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Thanos' Speculation. Comprehension? What on earth did he comprehend? Following Magneto's voice, the entire screening room began to ponder. Even Peter, who had received the teachings of light, also began to speculate. The smarter people are, the more tired they are, because they think too much. That kind of idiot never thinks about what troubles are, so he lives happily. According to the author's experience, as long as you don't know, you won't be troubled. So the author quit the post. Bruce Wayne felt that he was just one step away from success. On Temple 2nd, Thanos was also thinking. Although he didn't know the specific function of the points, he instinctively felt that this thing was very useful. Based on the breakthrough he made in getting points last time, Thanos felt that if he could guess some information in advance, he should be able to get extra points. But he really didn't have any research in this area. There is no technological explosion and chain of suspicion in their world. Although the three major empires, the Kree Empire and the Skrull Empire, have been fighting each other for years, and the Shire Empire has remained neutral, it is generally peaceful. He himself has been slaughtering people every day, and has never seen the three major empires come to kill him. Although this is also related to the current situation of the three major empires. The Skrulls were originally the oldest race. The technology of the Kree Empire was provided by the Skrulls. However, the home planet of these unfortunate people was eaten as dinner by the invincible Galactus. Now they are just a group of space refugees. The Kree Empire is similar to the Skrulls. Their home planet was also blown up. They are brothers in distress. The Shire Empire is now the strongest empire, but it has not made any big moves. On the contrary, the group of bucketheads on Cinder have a lot of things to do, but they can't beat me. That Log can't possibly want to wipe out half of the population of the Earth, and then live in peace with the Trisolarans, right? Thanos shot down this idea the next second, after thinking of it. Although he is a madman, he is not a madman. He can still distinguish between madness and madness. In that case, the information Log obtained must be used to kill. No, it must be used to severely injure, or even perish with the Trisolarans. Wait, perish together? Thanos suddenly understood something. When he was slaughtering in the universe, he also saw some races with strong personalities, who were willing to fight him to the death. Although those resistances were ridiculous and useless in Thanos' eyes. But Thanos suddenly understood something at this moment. Thanos, I think LUOG wants to deter the Trisolans by blowing up the earth. The barrage in the live broadcast room was silent. Isn't that right? Or are there no hidden points? Thanos touched his chin. Wanda, purple potato spirit, you are crazy about killing people. 1. LUOG and the others want to protect the earth. How could they blow up the earth in turn? Ultraman Ace, I think you really need to change your mind. Tony Stark, no, that's not right. What purple potato spirit said makes some sense. Wanda? 1. Peter Parker. Ultraman Hickory, I think I understand. Ultraman Hickory, when Ultraman was on Earth, the Bolton people whose home planet was destroyed, came to Earth because they needed a new planet for their race to survive and reproduce. At that time, the Bolton people were eager to take root on Earth because they needed a planet to survive. Ultraman Hickory, although the two sides broke down in the end, one of the 2 billion Boltons died. Cough. In short, the Trisolarans want to invade the Earth in order to survive, and in the Trisolaran universe, it is obvious that there are not a large number of suitable planets that can allow a race to survive on them. Ultraman Hickory, the Trisolarans have been looking for a suitable planet for more than a day or two, but after searching for so long, they have only found one suitable target, the Earth, and it will take another 400 years to find this one target. Ultraman Hickory, the Trisolarians dare not bet on whether they can find a second suitable planet for life if they give up the Earth, nor do they dare to bet on whether the next life or civilization will be weaker than the Trisolarians, just like the Earth. What if it is a civilization stronger than them and destroys the Trisolarians after communication? Ultraman Hickory, therefore, the Earth is not only the only home for the Earthlings, but also the only home for the Trisolarians. Ultraman Hickory, under the premise that the Trisolarians may be turned into ashes by the 3 stars at any time, if the Earthlings blow up the Earth first, then the Trisolarians will also be unlucky. Ultraman Hickory, first of all, although the space fleet has only been away from the Trisolarians for a few years, the resources consumed are also very large, and the previous clips have clearly stated one thing, that is, the Trisolarians no longer have enough resources to build a second space fleet. Ultraman Hickory, even if other planets are discovered, and there is no civilization on them, that will threaten the Trisolarians, but if the distance between the two sides is too far, then the Trisolarians will not be able to get through. Ultraman Hickory, in other words, the Trisolarans will never sit back and watch the Earthlings blow up the Earth themselves. But if the Earth is destroyed, the Earthlings will not be able to survive. Peter asked puzzled. Child, do you remember what the purple potato spirit said? What sentence? If you lose your mind, you will lose a lot, but if you lose your blood, you will lose everything. Strange continued, although I don't know a lot of tactics, I understand what Hickory means. Anyway, we can't survive, so why not die together? For readers who haven't seen Death's End, this sentence comes from a character in Death's End, Vader. Vader can't be described as a real man, he is a wolf destroyer. He has a famous line, lose humanity, lose a lot, lose animality, lose everything. If I have the opportunity to write about Death's End in the future, I will write this line, if there is a chance. It's mainly because I'm afraid that someone's blood pressure can't stand it. That's right. We're all going to die anyway. Why leave the Earth to the invaders? It's better to die together. Bruce Wayne nodded and said, as Earthlings, we only think of fighting to preserve the Earth, so we didn't think of dying together. It was the 2 aliens who thought of this from a bystander's perspective. We can't survive anyway, so we die together? Tony stroked his beard and said, I don't think this kind of ending is likely to be implemented. After all, you have seen what kind of people the Planetary Defense Council is. The wall-facer must deceive them first. You know, not everyone has the courage to die together with the enemy. Loki, rather than saying whether all Earthlings can have it, it's better to say that only a few Earthlings have it. Tony Stark, don't keep talking about Earthlings. Even if you Asgard have a lot of warriors who are ready to die, you, Loki, are not among them. Loki, humph, you know shit. I'm not one of those barbarians. Tomorrow, Tigger is confirmed to appear. Although it is Uncle Guango who transforms, not Dako who makes himself into soup, I'm still very excited. However, Compared to this, I have planned to block the forum for a week or two. Don't ask. If you ask, out of sight, out of mind. World War III is scheduled for tomorrow, brothers. By the way, to celebrate this moment, should I add an update tomorrow? Chapter 63, Summoning the Magical God from Another World. After understanding something, LUOG's first thing was to ask for a safe base. It's best. No, it must be the safest, the kind that even nuclear bombs can't use. The butler who had served him for a long time went to help him make the request. Before leaving, LUOG saw this message from the butler's eyes. You finally started working. When LUOG was transferred to an underground base, LUOG immediately started working. He first met with an astronomer, and the astronomer and his team observed the Trisolaran fleet. Then, he started asking about stars. Bruce Wayne, stars? Strange. I suddenly have a bold and terrifying guess. Ultraman Ace, he won't really use the sun to blow up the earth, right? Blow up the earth with the sun? Wanda was confused. She couldn't understand these things. Wanda could only turn to Vision for help. If I'm not mistaken, they mean to make the sun enter the red giant mode and swallow the earth and the entire solar system by causing the sun's nuclear helium flash in advance. What is a helium flash? A helium flash will erupt in the late red giant stage, and the red giant is the next stage of the main sequence star. First, the star burns fiercely by relying on the thermonuclear fusion inside it. The result of nuclear fusion is that every 4 hydrogen nuclei are combined into one helium atom. Stop. Is there a simple and easy to understand statement? In simple terms, that group of people want to use some means to accelerate the aging of the sun, explode, or use other methods to make the sun swallow the earth and the entire solar system, leaving the Trisolarans with nowhere to colonize. In this way, they warn the Trisolarans to either leave or die together. Oh my god. Wanda rubbed her temple helplessly. To be honest, I still don't quite understand the aging of the Sunday. I can explain it to you slowly. No, I don't want to listen. The pain of a poor student. JPG. When the next Planetary Defense Council meeting was held, LUOG attended the meeting for the first time and said that he would send a spell. A spell that uses the sun as an amplifier and is sent deep into space. This spell contains a star map with the positions of 30 stars. Next, LUOG announced that what he sent was actually a spell, and once the spell takes effect, the star will be destroyed. Of course, the people in the Planetary Defense Council sneered at LUOG's words. Especially a certain Japanese representative who was living a good life mocked him on the public screen. The Japanese representative who was living a good life directly said that LUOG was a wizard. What on earth is this kid going to do? Spell? Sir, do you have a spell that can destroy a star? Peter asked the real Wizard Strange directly. Don't be silly, kid. How can there be such a thing? Strange patted Peter's head and explained, in our world, there are indeed strong beings who can destroy stars. For example, the famous Galactus feeds on planets. With the strength of Galactus, it is definitely not a problem to blow up a star. Mr. Hickory, if it is our universe, well, I haven't studied this kind of large-scale destructive weapons. However, if I were to do it, it's not impossible for me to make a few star-blasting weapons or something. But there is no point. Strong beings like the Ultra Brothers can blast stars with light, so there is no need. And if this kind of star-blasting weapon is stolen by a bad guy, it will be dangerous. So what I study are generally used to amplify the equipment of the Ultra Warriors, which are very safe. But there are star-blasting weapons on other planets. Hickory changed the subject and said, in the great battle between the Magma and L-77 Nebula, the Magma fleet used the Star Destroyer to turn the L-77 Nebula into cosmic dust. Even though the king of L-77 Nebula tried his best to resist, he only destroyed most of the Magma fleet and finally died at the hands of the Star Destroyer. Wait, should I understand that the king of L-77 Nebula blew up most of the space fleet with his bare hands? Bruce Wayne suddenly interrupted and asked. Yes, in order to protect his people, he sacrificed his life. It's very touching, right? Ahahaha, yes. But in the Trisolaran universe, there is no such powerful individual combat power. In other words, don't expect LUOG to transform into Superman and blow up the Trisolaran fleet. Strange heard this and suddenly said, "You gave me an idea. I remember there is a spell to summon the alien demon in Camotage. Theoretically, as long as the alien demon I summon is strong enough, then I can destroy the star in disguise by summoning the alien demon to destroy the solar system." Haha, it seems that we also have a star blasting spell in Camotage. Wait a minute, did I say something extraordinary? I understand. LUOG's spell is used to summon a stronger existence to attack the star. As soon as he said this, everyone was shocked. When you see the correct answer, you will find that this question is not very difficult, but you just can't think of it. When this speculation was put forward, everyone seemed to see a ray of hope. If that's the case, LUOG is destroying the star by casting a spell to summon a more powerful being to attack the star. Strange said with an excited expression, but the previous video has clearly shown that the three-body world is a world without any superpowers, which means that the demons from other worlds do not exist. And based on the previous information, we can boldly speculate that there are no fewer alien civilizations in this world, so it is impossible that there are no terrifying civilizations that can destroy stars or even a galaxy. Tony took over Strange's words. Then there is only one question. Why do those alien civilizations attack that star and destroy it according to human instructions? The doubt now is the motive of the alien civilization's attack. Tony asked, "Wizard, in the previous video, did LUOG really not say what information was contained in the spell?" "No, it's just a star map, but it specifically marks the position of a certain star." Strange said unhappily, "I've said it 3 times. I'm not a wizard." Thanos. Foolish humans, you have walked into a blind spot. Wolverine, what? What blind spot? Aren't we talking about spells? Loki, that's right. Humans are so weak yet so arrogant. This is really a way to die. Wolverine, I really want to use my claws to dissect your internal organs. Although Trigger's cooked meat has not arrived yet, we have already watched Tigger and Trigger team up to beat up the Kiriloids. To sum up, it is G-San, the great god Kiriloid has given up on this planet. Tigger, but the gentle and handsome Ultraman Tigger has not given up beating you up. Chapter 64. Haha, you are absolutely right. Thanos, why do you Earthlings think that the alien civilization that attacked that star launched the attack because it obeyed the call of that Earthling? Tony Stark, I understand what the purple potato spirit means. LUOG did not summon anyone, he just announced the coordinates of this star. That's all. Tony Stark, first of all, let's take a look at what LUOG did before, from the time he started working. No, from the time he climbed out of the ice lake and said that sentence. Tony Stark, I can now boldly guess that in the ice lake, LUOG must have realized something in the absolute darkness and coldness, and then his next thing was to ask to enter an absolutely safe place. Then he conducted an experiment with a super powerful weapon. Do you know what this reminds me of? Bruce Wayne said a word with a serious face. Nuclear explosion. Yes, my dad told me that when he and Oppenheimer conducted the world's first nuclear explosion experiment, they felt the same way at that time. Your father also conducted a nuclear explosion experiment with Oppenheimer? That's not the point. The point is this behavior. So now most of the mysteries have been solved. Bruce Wayne looked at the screen and said, LUOG sent a spell to summon a higher civilization to destroy the star. This is a reason why he sent the spell. We can infer that LUOG intends to use this method to deter or simply destroy the three-body system. The doubts now are: 1. Why is LUOG so sure that his spell will work too? Assuming that LUOG's spell is effective, then why would a higher civilization attack the coordinates given by LUOG? And what did LUOG announce in the coordinates? 3. When condition 1 is met and condition 2 is ignored, why doesn't LUOG directly announce the coordinates of the three-body system? The Earth already knows the coordinates of the three-body star. Wouldn't it be great to announce it directly and let the higher civilization destroy the three-body star? Could it be that LUOG is afraid that the Earth and Trisolaria are too close, and after the Trisolaria are destroyed, other civilizations will also destroy the Earth? Magneto made a rare statement. Wanda, impossible. Trisolaria is 4 light years away from the Earth. The Trisolaria fleet has to fly for 400 years. Ultraman Ace, no, Kit, if the other party can really achieve that kind of attack that can destroy stars from a distance, 4 light years is nothing. For me, 4 light years is just the time it takes to eat a meal. Tony Stark, every time I see you inadvertently reveal your technological level, I feel a toothache. Captain America, LUOG is not crazy yet. What he wants is to repel the Tricellaria, not to perish with the Tricellaria. Captain America, your guesses are all based on the premise that the Earth and the Tricellarians will perish together, but the biggest contradiction between the two sides is to survive. In other words, if LUOG really publishes the coordinates of the Tricellarians, then the Tricellarians and the Earth will enter a life and death struggle. No, a state where neither of them can survive. The Tricellarians are likely to give up on themselves and publish the coordinates of the Earth. Captain America, the Tricellarians don't want to be exterminated, and neither do the Earthlings. Based on these two premises, LUOG first wants to do an experiment, and then after confirming that this method is feasible, he will use this method to deter the Tricellarians. Ding dong, congratulations to everyone in the live broadcast room for predicting the plan of the Wallfacer LUOG in advance. Although it is not complete and has not guessed the core, it is worth encouraging. Thanos started his journey and was awarded a Q&A card. Ultraman Hickory regularized the direction and was awarded 30 points. Stephen Strange proposed the key introduction and was awarded a chance to observe the isotope. Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark filled the gap and were awarded 20 points. Captain America completed the ending and was awarded 1 biological tracker on Temple Second. Thanos looked at the card in his hand and his purple shoehorn face showed joy. Question and answer card. You ask, I answer. It's that simple. Thanos was extremely happy. He was about to ask about the location of the 6 Infinity Stones, but he suddenly remembered the previous conversation. If you have that ability, why don't you just increase the resources of the universe? After you kill once, can you kill again? You have nothing else in your mind except killing? After Thanos came into contact with this magical screening room, he quickly realized something. That is, the multiverse is so large that there is always a way to fulfill his long-cherished wish. He is not a murderer, but just relieves a population problem by killing. If there is a better, faster and more convenient method, he doesn't mind using it. Since the infinite screening room can connect to the infinite multiverse, can you tell me how to solve the population resource problem? Thanos suddenly thought of a better way to use this card. He already knew the location of the infinite gems in time and space. The mind gem was in his hands before, but now it has fallen to Earth. However, it is only a matter of time before he gets it back. As long as he can survive Odin and Ancient One, the 3 gems will be in his pocket. He really doesn't know about the Soul Gem, but he has some clues about the Power Gem. As for the Reality Gem, it is said to have appeared in the hands of a collector in the void. I want to know the best way to solve the population problem. As soon as Thanos finished speaking, a line of words appeared on the card. Family planning. Seeing the 4 words on the card, Thanos fell into deep thought. What's next, brother? What's next? Please tell me the specific content. Thanos' face visibly changed from purple to black. But Thanos is a smart man after all, and he chose to think about it first. In the screening room, Strange was a little curious when he heard about his reward. Observation of peers? Let me see my peers. I remember Loki seemed to have received a similar reward before. Loki, does that mean I will be broadcasted as peers with you, a third-rate wizard, next time? Strange, let me remind you first, in my world, I just taught a lesson to Loki who came to Earth to make trouble. 1. I can testify. Loki, even if what you said is true, you only taught a lesson to a low-level Loki. I'm the highest level Loki. If it were me, you would not even have room to resist. Strange, haha, you are absolutely right. Teacher can point JPG. Bruce Wayne, Master, your words just now seem to have some grammatical problems. 1. This is what Strange learned from a book. It is said to be very effective against some people who are particularly good at arguing. Loki, why do I feel something is wrong? Although I already knew about the appearance of Tigger, and I thought to myself that there was nothing to be excited about since I knew everything. But when I really saw that figure again in Trigger, I was so excited that I lost my voice. The smile on the corners of my mouth twisted upwards, and my whole brain was temporarily empty, just because the giant of light from our childhood stood on the earth again after 25 years. Chapter 65 Biological Tracker. Biological Tracker? Captain America looked at the prop in his hand, which seemed to be made of low quality plastic, and tied with tape, like a Dragon Ball radar, and read out its function. This prop was very considerate, and provided with an instruction manual. Biological tracker. Think of an image of a person in your mind, and then say his/her name, and the biological tracker will show his/her location. Whether it is magic, technology, or memes, it cannot stop the detection of the biological tracker, because this thing itself is a meme. Originally, according to the rules, this thing should be handed in, but it was not handed in. This biological tracker requires a special charger, so this thing will become a piece of plastic after the battery is exhausted. I think it should not be accepted by junk sellers. Special attention, warm reminder, this thing consumes power a little bit faster. Looking at this prop that looks like a low quality toy, Captain America's face is a little strange. Is this thing really as powerful as they say? If this prop is really that powerful, then the function of this prop is no less than mine. Luden suddenly said. But this is too weird. It's not scientific. You don't need anything. Just think about the person's appearance, and then say his name to find him. Dr. Banner pushed his glasses and said, is this thing going to ignore the laws of science? Calm down, Banner. Compared with the surprises and accidents brought to us by the screening room, this little thing is nothing. After studying the specific use of this thing, Captain America thought of his good friend. He already knew that the Winter Soldier was not dead, but he didn't know where he went. If possible, Captain America thought of Bucky's figure in his mind, and then said the name, Bucky Barnes. The next second Bucky's figure appeared on the screen, as well as Bucky's current geographical location. So strong. Captain America was not happy for 2 seconds, and he felt that the tracker in his hand was abnormally hot. At the same time, the icon showing the power in the upper left corner of the tracker was only 78%. Captain America was numb. This thing just had 90 degrees of power! Exclamation mark. Then, now it is 77, 76, 75. Shutdown. Where is the shutdown button? Captain America knew very well how powerful this prop that looked like a plastic toy was. It was very useful for hunting down the remnants of Hydra or finding important targets. However, this thing was a disposable prop for a long time, and it could not be used after the power was used up. So we had to save some power. In the screening room, Bruce Wayne was very happy. With the previous accumulation, he had accumulated 60 points. In other words, a blue card was guaranteed. According to his previous performance, a blue card could draw an alien robot, so he should be able to get something like an alien spaceship engine. This world is an absolute technological world, without superpowers, which would be more helpful to him. 30 points. Hikaru didn't react much. He had drawn a lot of good things, so he didn't need these 30 points. Not pursuing powerful power by any means is also a kind of Ultraman spirit. Tony was very surprised. The Bumblebee he drew before gave him a lot of inspiration, and Bumblebee was a real mechanical life form instead of a simple robot, which made him burst with inspiration. It would be nice if I could draw a Decepticon this time, Tony thought. What, a grey card? Impossible. How could I, Tony Stark, have such bad luck? The video continues. The Lord is very afraid of him. Among the remnants of the Earth Trissolarian organization, a leader said to the other members, the Lord has issued an assassination order. The Lord requires that LUOG must be killed at all costs. Many members were puzzled by this. They couldn't understand why their gods would be afraid of a mortal like LUOG. The Lord is very afraid of him. The leader could only say this. The leader didn't say why, because the Trissolarians had learned to conceal. That's right, the Trissolarians finally learned to deceive in their contact with the Earth Trissolarian organization, although it was very low level, but this also surprised the leader. In the screening room, everyone was furious when they saw this scene. This group of guys is too disgusting. Yeah, they don't want to be good people, but they choose to be dogs. This is too cheap. Don't insult dogs. Be careful, someone will cause trouble for you. What are you afraid of? Those crazy people are not in this live broadcast room. Don't insult crazy people, okay? They are a group of villains who claim to protect the earth and the world, but actually make money for themselves. LUOG, who made the Trisolarans terrified, is now being harassed by the Planetary Defense Council. He is not good at anything, and he is the first to hinder his teammates. The Secretary General of the Planetary Defense Council asked, "Since your spell is so powerful, why don't you cast a spell on the Trisolaran world and destroy them directly?" LUOG just said, "I can't guarantee how powerful the spell is, but the Trisolaran planet is only 4 light years away from us. If we cast it, there is a risk of being affected." Hiss. Looking at LUOG on the screen, the people in the screening room and the live broadcast room did not question him. They had already guessed LUOG's behavior, so they knew what LUOG was going to do. Even if it's 4 light years away, there's a possibility that it could be affected. What kind of weapon could be so powerful? Tony almost pulled his beard off. As a weapons expert, he couldn't think of anything that could be so powerful that it could affect 4 light years. Weapons with an attack range of 4 light years. Hikaru couldn't figure it out, but he could think about it. If a beam of light is released, it can fly all the way in a vacuum environment, but the prerequisite is that it doesn't hit any obstacles. But at a distance of 4 light years. How about we change our thinking? What thinking? What we think of now is being affected by the aftermath of the weapon attack, but we haven't seen it anyway, so why do we have to make a certain weapon? Peter suddenly said, "Why don't we just assume that there is such a weapon?" Before the nuclear bomb was made, no one could predict that there would be such a terrible weapon. What specific weapon is, we'll know if we keep watching. Yes, Kit. Tony, who was thinking hard, was awakened as if he had an epiphany. Why must he insist on what that weapon is? Anyway, he will definitely know if he keeps watching. But Hikari did have some ideas. Maximum Galaxy has certain enhancement functions. The Maximum Galaxy I gave to Loki last time was just a basic version. Maybe I can add some ultra long range attack effects to Maximum Galaxy. Mr. Hikari, the live broadcast is continuing again. Oh. Chapter 66, Hikari, the Modest Gentleman. After firing the spell, LUOG hid in the underground defense center again. But the attack of the Earth Trisolarian organization has arrived. The Earth Trisolarian organization could not forcefully break through the defense center, where LUOG was, so the Earth Trisolarian organization used a weapon called a gene missile. The gene missile actually, it is a virus. But after the virus was modified, ordinary people would only have a mild cold, but for LUOG, it was as deadly as the most deadly poison. Due to the early stage of the spread of this gene virus, the effect was no different from that of ordinary flu, and it would recover after a few weeks. Some staff members of the base were also infected, but no one paid attention. So in this case, LUOG was also infected. LUOG's infection was a big deal. This thing is specifically designed to deal with LUOG. Once this genetically modified virus infects a specific target, it will produce deadly toxins in the blood, and the target of all the Trisolarian organizations is only one person, that is LUOG. So LUOG was pushed into the IQ that night. Because the current technology is not enough to solve this situation, LUOG was hibernated. At this point, all 3 wall faces entered hibernation. After LUOG entered hibernation, the Earth also detected that the Trisolaran fleet released 10 small detectors. It seems that this kid didn't escape in the end. Tony Stark touched his beard. His talent was all in the mechanical department. He really didn't have much research in this area of genes, but he still knew the content of this genetic missile. This kind of genetic missile is indeed hard to defend against, but the staff of that base was indeed a little careless. That's not the case. From the perspective of an observer, we certainly understand the other party's intentions, but the people on Earth in the Trisolaran world have never heard of this genetic missile technology. How could they have predicted this? But the person in charge now said that, if Captain Shi was there, it would definitely not happen. It seems that the man named Shi Kang is very capable. The video continues. Time flies, and 8 years have passed quickly. 8 years ago, due to technical problems, the first 2 wall faces, Diaz and Hines, chose to enter hibernation. Now, the technology required by the 2 wall faces has been achieved. Heinz is a neuroscientist. His original intention was to accelerate the development of the human brain through supercomputers, and then let human technology develop rapidly, and finally break the technological blockade of the Trisolarians. However, during Heinz's research, Heinz accidentally discovered one thing, that is, his research can achieve a powerful brainwashing effect by scanning a certain neuron. Using this method, humans can firmly believe in something. This first happened to a volunteer. After the experiment, the volunteer firmly believed that water was highly toxic. The volunteer only ate completely dry food. He insisted that water was toxic, even though he knew very well that 70% of the human body was made up of water. Heinz conducted an experiment on himself. He gave himself an instruction through this machine, that is, water is highly toxic. It turns out that this effect is very strong. After conducting the experiment, Heinz picked up a glass of water and took a sip under the gaze of everyone. Then, his face began to twitch, and his eyes gradually revealed the same fear as the volunteers, as if he was mentally struggling with an invisible huge force. Finally, he vomited all the water in his mouth, squatted down and began to vomit. He didn't vomit anything, but his face turned purple. In a sense, he has come up with something very amazing. Heinz submitted this invention to the Planetary Defense Council. Obviously, this invention has caused an uproar in the Planetary Defense Council. Hiss. Everyone in the screening room felt their scalps tingling when they saw this scene. This thing is even more terrifying than Charles' mental control. Magneto was shocked. This thing can actually forcibly distort a person's cognition. If the humans in their world also have such a terrifying technological device, and then use it to control mutants. Magneto shook his head frantically, trying to shake off the terrifying conjecture. But this also gave him another idea. Human technology can really do things that even mutants can't do. It seems that I really need to study hard. There seem to be a lot of books in the school library. Do you want to take a look when you go back? Wolverine. I don't know why, but I instinctively feel a chill. Bruce Wayne. This is normal. Compared with this kind of terrifying thing, nuclear bombs are child's play. Bruce Wayne. Nuclear bombs can destroy humans at most, but they can control humans. Tony Stark. The water is highly toxic. Really, the scientists in that world have once again refreshed my understanding. Ultraman Hickory, your human scientific research ability really refreshes my cognition. I have decided that when my work at hand is finished, I will apply to go to Earth for exchange and study. Bruce Wayne, that, the Earth in your world, is not the Earth in the three-body world. Ultraman Hickory, no, even the Earth in our world has many unique technologies. In our world, the Earthlings invented the ultimate sky-piercing monkey, which defeated Ultraman's 1 trillion-degree fireball with one strike. I believe that, after studying on Earth, I will definitely be able to gain better inspiration and create better technological props to protect peace. Ultraman Hickory, Ace, please ask Zoffy for me. Ultraman Ace, Hickory, I'm not in the Kingdom of Light now. I didn't find the king in K76, and I'm on my way back now. Ultraman Ace, I've searched K76 thoroughly. Doesn't the king usually drink tea and live here? King? Ultraman Hickory, that should be, because the king doesn't want to see you. If the king wanted to see you, he would have come out long ago. Ultraman Ace, that's true. I won't say more. There's something going on over there. I'll go check it out. Ultraman Ace, it's the Bolton invasion fleet. Bold Bolton. Give me your life. Captain America, how are you going to communicate? Your appearance on Earth will cause a great disturbance. Ultraman Hickory, indeed, although there have been no Blue Ultra Warriors going to Earth before, my appearance is indeed likely to cause a disturbance. However, we Ultramen have the ability to change. Our ancestors used to look not much different from Earthlings. They evolved into what we are now after an accident. But it's not a big problem. I can change back. After saying that, Hickory showed a wave of degeneration on the spot, from the Ultraman state to a gentle and elegant middle-aged uncle. The whole person has the appearance of a gentle and modest gentleman. Chapter 67 Wanda's Sixth Sense. At this moment, due to the invasion of the three-body, human society is filled with all kinds of pessimism and defeatism. Heinz handed over this technology at the meeting and named it Thought Stamp. Thought Stamp? It's a very suitable name. At the meeting, Hines proposed to use Thought Stamp to implant the belief that mankind will win into the minds of soldiers from various countries. Of course, this must have aroused opposition from the Planetary Defense Council. Drive Hines and Dr. Kiko Yamasuji have opened a door to darkness for mankind with their extraordinary talents. The French representative raised his hands excitedly, which is more tragic, that mankind loses the right and ability to think freely, or that it loses in this war? Of course it is the latter. Hines retorted, because in the former case, mankind at least has the opportunity to regain freedom of thought. I doubt that, if that thing is really used. Look at you all faces, said the Russian representative. Taylor wants to deprive people of their lives. You want to deprive people of their thoughts. What on earth do you want to do? The British representative said, we are just proposing a motion today, but I believe that all governments will unanimously agree to ban this thing. In any case, there is nothing more evil than mind control. In the Asgard dungeon, Loki almost got high blood pressure from watching it. The boundless cold air leaked subconsciously, the prison quickly froze, and a layer of frost quickly covered various furniture. Loki, stupid humans, what are they doing? Exclamation mark. Loki, it's time, and you still care about this? Thanos, I thought my people were cowardly enough, but the people on Earth are even worse than them. Loki, that's right. It's time to still care about these things. Think about them, only when you can survive. 1. Although, I actually want to support these two guys this time. Strange, +1, Constantine. To be honest, I don't really understand their brain circuits. Why do they think that just loading a belief that they must win is more important than winning? 1. I can't understand it either. Bruce Wayne, it should be because of the instability of the Thought Stamp. If it is used by someone with ulterior motives, the Thought Stamp will become a weapon for that person to control the world. 1. To be honest, I still can't understand. The way of thinking of you Westerners is really quite outrageous in our eyes. It's like I still can't understand why you have so many isms when you have nothing to do. You use this and that to attack this person and that person. Rowling was expelled from the Harry Potter author list just because she published incorrect remarks. I can't understand your political correctness. Strange, ahem. 1. If you really have nothing to do, you can go and clean the library of Kamatage. If you can't do it, you can go out to work and earn some money to subsidize the temple. Go to the internet cafe ls. Going online too much is not good for your brain. 1. I have been doing black boxing to subsidize the temple. Okay. By the way, don't you really consider my previous suggestion of returning to the martial arts world for surgery? Tony Stark, are all wizards so miserable? Faced with many representatives, Hines refuted mercilessly, why are you so sensitive when it comes to thought control? In fact, in modern society, thought control has always been happening. From commercials to Hollywood culture, they are all controlling thoughts. You, to use an old Eastern saying, are just the pot calling the kettle black. Many capitalists whose truth about capital was exposed were silenced by Hines. The author himself would like to make them into street lamp pendants. You see, street lamps illuminate the night for us every day, so hard, we hang something on them to decorate them. Is this reasonable? Hines then told a story. The story is roughly about a little boy whose leg was crushed by a tree. Now he has two choices. 1. Cut off his leg to survive. 2. Wait to die. And now humans are that little boy. This wall facer Hines has understood the essence of this war. That is, either abandon the moral bottom line of mankind or die. The gap between the Trisolarians and the Earthlings is so great that it is almost impossible to make up for it, especially under the premise that the technology of mankind has been locked by the intelligent suns. Under this premise, it is actually the most immoral thing to still hold on to the original moral code. Bruce Wayne was extremely entangled and then said, after all, it is to control the thoughts of human beings. Even if it gives a person the belief of victory, it is enough to cause great resistance and even cause the moral collapse of human society. In that case, special means are indeed needed, but after all, controlling thoughts is not something that anyone can accept. You can also believe that, if your thoughts are controlled by others, I think the thought stamp will be used in the end, but it will definitely be strictly supervised and monitored, and only people with special identities such as soldiers will be allowed to use it. Even if it is to be used, there must be various rules and restrictions. Sure enough, under the severe situation, the Planetary Defense Council reluctantly agreed to Heinz's thought stamp. Moreover, this machine has been added with many restrictions. For example, only soldiers can be printed with thought stamps, and the content of the thought stamp can only be the belief that humans will win the three-body war. Apart from this, nothing else can be printed, and it must be completely voluntary, and there must be no coercion. There are also various rules and regulations. Multiple confirmations must be made before printing the thought stamp, and you can regret it at any time before printing. Under various regulations, the thought stamp was still activated. After inventing the thought stamp, Heinz and his wife went into hibernation again. But Heinz's wife, Kiko Yamasuji, suddenly opened her eyes a little before entering the hibernation chamber and was about to start hibernation. Her eyes were full of fear and despair. If it weren't for the severe cold that froze her eyelids, her eyes would definitely be wide open. But doctors and staff thought that this was a normal nerve reflex during hibernation, and it had happened to a few hibernators before, so they didn't care. Next, it's the story of the wall-facer Diaz. What's wrong with Kiko Yamasuji? Everyone is an elite, especially with Strange, who has a photographic memory here. Plus the video specifically gives Kiko Yamasuji a close-up. It's hard not to notice. Before she went into hibernation, her eyes suddenly opened, as if she suddenly discovered something. Strange said, "I haven't seen that kind of look, but I can't explain why it's wrong." Bruce Wayne, "I seem to have seen a similar look, and it feels like a person who is suddenly facing despair." Despair? Hikaru savored the word carefully. For him, despair is a word that only exists in books. Wanda, she gives me the feeling that I can't tell, but I roughly know why she is like this. Wolverine, why? Wanda, I can't tell anymore after I've said it. This is a woman's sixth sense. Wolverine, there will be more at night. There will be more at night. Don't panic. Chapter 68. Brainless politicians have a lot of fun. It felt like she had discovered something related to the person closest to her. Wanda smacked her lips and said, "I always feel that the reason why Kiko Yamasuji behaved like that is related to her husband Heinz." "Why, dear?" Vision, who came out with lunch, asked in confusion. I analyzed Kiko Yamasuji's behavior. She is more likely to have suddenly thought of something that frightened her. According to my inference, she is more likely to have thought of the side effects of the mind stamp. The side effects of the mind stamp? That's right. That's it. Wanda, I think the reason why Kiko Yamasuji suddenly showed a frightened expression is that there is a problem with the mind stamp, and this problem is most likely caused by Heinz. Peter Parker, why? Wanda, don't ask, it's a woman's intuition. Judgment in progress. Wanda's answer is correct, but incomplete. She is awarded an Awakening Acceleration card. Wanda and Vision's world. A card the size of a playing card appeared in Wanda's hand, with the word Awakening written on it. I feel a strange power from it. Vision walked over to Wanda and said, "The Mind Stone reacted to this card." Well, my power comes from the Mind Stone, so it makes sense that this Awakening card would have an effect on the Mind Stone. Wanda looked at the Awakening Accelerator card, and information about the Awakening Accelerator card naturally appeared in her mind. Awakening Accelerator card allows the unawakened power in the user's body to awaken faster. To use, bring the power in the body into contact with this card. A simple sentence. The power in the body? Wanda was stunned, and red energy appeared in her hand. This was her chaos power. Will it be dangerous? Vision looked worried. He knew very well how terrible the power in the body was. If it was not controlled well, it might cause irreversible consequences. Well, Wanda was also a little hesitant. She was afraid of the power in her body. In the screening room. No way. This works? Peter had a question mark on his face. He didn't understand what this was all about. Others answered correctly and got a reward. Heinz, thought stamp? Did Heinz tamper with the thought stamp? Bruce Wayne woke up suddenly and then broke out in a cold sweat. He knew very well what would happen if this thing was tampered with. It was a creation that was enough to subvert the human world. Could it be that Heinz is from the Earth Trisolarian organization? Hikaru said puzzledly. The Planetary Defense Council found a person from the Earth Trisolarian organization to be a wall facer? Loki, finding a traitor to be a wall facer? That's really a big joke. I can laugh about this for a year. Peter Parker, then, that's a big deal. Alfred, could it be other reasons? For example, Heinz is not a traitor? Wolverine, but the screening room also confirmed that Heinz did have a problem, and he did tamper with the thought stamp machine. Bruce Wayne, Wanda's answer is not complete after all, and we shouldn't jump to conclusions. Could the problem be with Kiko Yamasuji? Wolverine, Kiko Yamasuji. Are you saying that Kiko Yamasuji is a member of the Earth Trisolarian organization? Bruce Wayne, this is just a guess. Before everything is revealed, everything is possible. The video continues after Heinz entered hibernation. Another Wallfacer, Rei Diaz, began his plan. Wallfacer Rei Diaz, he also entered hibernation due to technical problems. And now, his request has finally been met. What is he going to do? Build a hydrogen bomb. A stellar hydrogen bomb. Of course, at the meeting of the Planetary Defense Council, Rei Diaz's plan was undoubtedly blocked. The first hydrogen bomb is expected to have an explosive equivalent of 350 million tons of TNT, which is 17 times the largest hydrogen bomb ever made by humans. It is impossible to test such a supernuclear bomb in the atmosphere. Even if it is tested underground, the strata will be lifted up. At the same time, its powerful shock waves will spread all over the world, which may have unpredictable effects on a wide range of geological structures, and then induce geological disasters including earthquakes and tsunamis. Therefore, the test of stellar hydrogen bombs can only be carried out in space, but it is impossible to test in high orbit. The electromagnetic pulse generated by the hydrogen bomb will have a huge impact on the Earth's communication and power systems at such a distance. The most ideal test location is on the back of the moon, but Rei Diaz has another choice. He wants to conduct experiments on Mercury. Faced with a doubt, Rei Diaz coldly retorted, according to the basic principles of the Wallfacer project, I don't need to explain. The test should be underground, and a super deep well should be dug on Mercury. The Mayozi representative said, we can accept experiments on the surface of Mercury, but digging a super deep well on Mercury consumes hundreds of times more resources than on Earth. This is totally unnecessary. Experiments on the surface of Mercury are impossible, said the representative of Mili-Jian. So far, Rei Diaz is the Wallfacer who consumes the most resources. Now is the time to stop him. Rei Diaz refuted mercilessly. Even if I consume as few resources as Wallfacer Luog, you will still stop me. The reason for saying this is related to Rei Diaz's identity. Rei Diaz, the president of Bolivar, implemented Xism in a place like South America. Facing the attack of Mili-Jian, he fought back through guerrilla warfare. At the same time, it is also one of the few examples of winning with fewer people in modern battles. But even if they won, the power balance between the two sides remained unchanged, and Bolivar's nuclear bomb test site was still forcibly demolished. That day, everyone saw Rei Diaz's unwillingness and anger. As soon as this information came out, everyone found something wrong. Is that representative of Mili-Jian deliberately obstructing Wallfacer Rei Diaz? Be more confident, kid. Tony said to Peter, change the question sentence into an affirmative sentence. He is deliberately obstructing Rei Diaz. Oh my god, what time is it? They are still. Peter was so angry that he was a little incoherent. In his opinion, at this time, they should go all out, unite, and work together to deal with the Trisolarans. Why are they still fighting each other for so long? Exclamation mark. Kid, this is not hard to understand. Tony said helplessly, you are still too naive. I have had many teachings with those politicians, so I know them very well. Anyway, for them, the invasion of the Trisolarans is a matter of 400 years. Why should they hinder their current interests because of something 400 years later? Even if they can implement the plan smoothly, the fundamental purpose is definitely not to save the Earth, but to gain benefits for themselves. Brothers in woohoo, I was trapped in the office with an office girl because of the rain. I found a way to borrow an umbrella to send her away so that I can listen to my favorite songs and then write novels for you with inspiration. Brothers, am I doing the right thing? Brothers who think I'm doing the right thing, please shine the light of righteousness in the book review. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Mercury Impact. At this moment, Thanos has begun to equate humans with stupidity. He has been wreaking havoc in the universe for many years, and this is the first time he has seen such a stupid race. No, it can't be called stupid. This is a world with highlights, but the highlight humans are disturbed by their stupid fellows. Thanos felt sorry for Eidias at this moment. He was clearly planning to save mankind. Regardless of whether the method was right or not, at least Eidias was doing it. What was the result? He was actually dragged down by a group of fellows. The reason was actually a personal grudge. That's right, before the life and death of the entire planet and the entire race, the grudges between countries are nothing more than personal grudges. Eidias' experience reminded Thanos of himself. Although he encountered various obstacles, Eidias still persuaded or deceived the Planetary Defense Council and established an experimental base on Mercury. Soon, the day of the experiment arrived. Facts have proved that, although Eidias' idea is crazy, the effect of the hydrogen bomb is quite powerful. On Mercury, the entire land seemed to be lifted up by the explosion of the hydrogen bomb in the experimental area. A large number of rocks flew high into the sky, flying higher and higher. In the end, a considerable part of the rocks reached the first cosmic velocity of Mercury in the violent explosion, becoming countless satellites of different sizes of this planet, and scattered in orbit, making Mercury the first terrestrial planet with rings. Another part of the rocks directly reached the second cosmic velocity, directly broke away from Mercury, and were captured by the gravity of the sun, becoming satellites of the sun, forming an extremely sparse asteroid belt in the solar orbit of Mercury. Seeing the scene of the Mercury star-level nuclear bomb experiment, everyone was stunned. If you don't see this scene with your own eyes, you can't imagine how spectacular it is by imagination. This is the power of science and technology. Faced with the great success of the star-level hydrogen bomb, the human side cheered. Although they had a lot of opinions about Eidias, they had no opinions about such a powerful weapon. People are people, weapons are weapons. Even if these stellar hydrogen bombs are not useful against the Trisolarians, they can be used for other things. Seeing this, Bruce and others felt something was wrong. The words in the screening room are hinting that something is going to happen to us. What? Would the Wallbreakers of the Trisolarian organization choose this time to attack the Wallfacers? Parker asked. No, Kit, I don't know if you really don't understand or don't want to understand, but I must remind you that there are huge differences and contradictions between the melee giant of that world and the Wallfacer Eidias, and the reason why they agreed to Eidias' plan is probably because of the stellar hydrogen bombs created by Eidias. Even if the stellar hydrogen bombs have little impact on the Trisolarian fleet, they are very useful for disputes between countries. After the experiment of the stellar hydrogen bomb was successful, the Planetary Defense Council notified Eidias to attend a meeting on the production and deployment of stellar hydrogen bombs. At the same time, the Secretary General told him that the 1 million stellar hydrogen bombs he requested were simply impossible to complete because the number was too large. But at this moment, a man who claimed to be Diaz's psychiatrist appeared. Diaz was very angry because he had never had a psychiatrist. But the visitor said, "Mr. Diaz, I can make you see the Sunday." It turned out that a long time ago, Diaz suddenly suffered from heliophobia, which is an extreme fear of the sun and dare not look directly at the sun. But the visitor said that he could cure Diaz because he knew the cause of Diaz's illness. This tone. It's the Wallbreaker. In the screening room, Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark revealed the identity of the visitor one after another. Diaz's Wallbreaker. Is Diaz going to fail too? Kit, I think so. Wallfacer Diaz, I'm your Wallbreaker. Next, the Wallbreaker mercilessly revealed Diaz's true intention. On the surface, Diaz wants to produce a large number of stellar hydrogen bombs to attack the Trisolarians, but in fact, Diaz's target is Mercury. That's right, Diaz wants to blow Mercury into the sun. According to Diaz's budget, with the help of the explosion of 100 extremely powerful stellar hydrogen bombs, it is enough to affect the entire orbit of Mercury and make Mercury hit the sun. I originally planned to explain it in detail, but you always say I'm Mercury. After Mercury hits the sun, the next chain reaction will be the outer shell of the sun's convection layer will be pierced by Mercury, and a huge amount of stellar matter in the deep radiation layer will be ejected into space at high speed. In the rotation of the sun, a spiral atmosphere will be formed. Because the sun and the Trisolarian star are different, the sun is a solitary star. Therefore, although the sun will not cause the Trisolarian scene, after the sun's convection layer is pierced, its atmosphere will grow undisturbed, and finally it will cause an extremely terrible scene. Venus, Earth, and Mars, the three terrestrial planets, will all orbit in the spiral atmosphere of the sun, quickly lose speed in the friction, and eventually become three giant meteors falling into the sun. In fact, long before this, the Earth's atmosphere was stripped away in the fierce friction with the solar material, and the ocean evaporated. The stripped atmosphere and evaporated ocean will turn the Earth into a giant comet, and its comet tail may grow long enough to orbit the sun once. The surface of the Earth will return to the magma and fire state at the beginning of its formation, and no life can survive. Next, Jupiter will also experience such terrible things, but this is no longer important. As long as the Earth can be destroyed, the entire solar system will not be able to support life. In other words, as long as the Earth is destroyed, the hope of the Trisolarians will also be over. Therefore, once Diaz's plan succeeds, Diaz will have the conditions to negotiate with the Trisolarians. Repeat again, the Earth is necessary for the Trisolarians to survive, and the Trisolarians will cherish the Earth more than the people on Earth. So, if Diaz's plan succeeds, he will be able to truly shock the Trisolarians. This is the plan of Wallfacer Diaz. After hearing this crazy plan, the entire theater was stunned. Without women in mind, the writing is naturally divine. Sure enough, it is faster to write like this. Chapter 70, Remarks on the release. It will be released soon. I would like to apologize to all the readers who were pissed off by me before. Sorry. Although they can't see it anymore. Oh, I have been reading novels for 8 years. At least 6 years. The first time I came into contact with online novels should be Dalu second. Then among the large number of novels I read during this period, the novels that I remember clearly are Send a Wee Chat to Heaven, The Legend of the Great Saint. I have 9 to 16 physical books of this, The Urban Insect Emperor, several novels by a reader named Western Spider, and the Infinite series of Z-Dam, which you can also see from my previous novels. Infinite Horror, Infinite Dawn, Primordial Calendar, The Beginning of Death, Infinite Future, plus a lot of them, really a lot of Infinite Horror fan fiction. For a while I only read Infinite Horror fan fiction. There are also unique works. I'm a big star and plane supervisor. There is also another very impressive The Wrong Way of Crossing Pokemon. I joined the book club for the first time because of this. Unfortunately, when I joined, the author Green Tea had already run away. I have only seen the author show up once in many years. There are also What Is It Like to Be Summoned as a Giant in the Best Special Effects Era. After reading more, I will naturally have the idea of writing. As the saying goes, long-term illness makes a doctor. If you read enough novels, you can write something. Before I wrote on Kidian, I also wrote on other websites, and had books on the shelves. Now I'm back to Kidian, just because I suddenly want to fulfill my previous dream. At first, I didn't think I could be signed. As a result, the editor sent me a message before I applied. Then I signed the contract without knowing what was going on. Then, I just wrote. I have been writing until now. From the end of October to now. At first, I planned to be a full-time writer. I never expected that I would have so many collections. Although I will definitely not subscribe to all the collections, I still have a lot of dusty novels on my bookshelf. Well, finally, thank all the readers who are willing to reward the author, not only giving the author a bite to eat, but also giving the author the confidence to continue writing. I will update 3 chapters later and 2 more in the evening. Since the author has to go home on Saturday, the update may be delayed, but 4,000 words a day will definitely not be less. Finally, I would like to recommend the work Grey World by the Upmaster Italian Fox of the Small Broken Station. This is not for the sake of eating or anything, but I really like it. The second and third episodes made my tears burst. By the way, brothers, have you seen the trailer of the 3 generations of Spider-Man? Damn, it's explosive. Tobey, Garfield, and Holland's Spider-Man are in the same frame. Chapter 71, Why Magneto is not called Magneto. Crazy, but expected. Strange said, under the threat of death, someone will eventually make such a move to die together. I didn't expect that the purple potato spirit is the real great prophet. The wall breaker politely sat next to Ei Diaz. Mr. Ei Diaz, you are too anxious to experiment on Mercury. Otherwise, he would not have broken your wall so easily. Really, Mr. Ei Diaz, if you were not too anxious, I would not be able to do this step. Because this idea is too crazy. The chain reaction caused by the fall of Mercury is really beautiful, but it's a pity that humans can only appreciate the first 1.5 sections. Mr. Ei Diaz, it's my honor to be your wall breaker. Ei Diaz said with a gloomy face. Okay, then I'll ask the question that Taylor asked. The wall breaker answered for him. What if all this is true? My answer is still consistent with Taylor's wall breaker. This wall breaker gave the same answer as the previous one. The same answer that made people feel extremely desperate. That is, the Lord doesn't care. Mr. Diaz, not only are you too anxious, you've also miscalculated one thing. That is that mankind simply does not have the ability to produce enough stellar-class hydrogen bombs. Even if they try their best, the final number produced may be less than 1/10. And to slow down Mercury to the point of falling into the sun, even if there are really a million stellar-class hydrogen bombs, it is far from enough. Ha 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 ha. Ei Diaz laughed wildly, then he punched the wall breaker in the face, and then picked up a belt to strangle him. Unfortunately, all this was stopped by the guards. So far, the wall facer Ei Diaz, break the wall. Soon, a new round of the Planetary Defense Council was convened, and the content of the discussion was Ei Diaz's plan. At this moment, the representative of Miligian was like a squeaking monkey, a clown seeking popularity, and a fly that saw a hero fall and quickly pounced on him. He began his justice speech and accused the devil and sinner. The representative of Miligian even proposed to add a crime of extinction of Earth life to the international criminal law to try Ei Diaz, the devil and sinner. Ei Diaz seemed particularly relaxed. By the way, his heliophobia healed itself at the moment the wall was broken. As if Ei Diaz had known this day would come, he retorted mercilessly, I have always been the wall facer you least wanted. You all can see the relationship between us. Wall facer Ei Diaz, you have always consumed the most resources among all the wall facers. And you even tried to destroy humanity. Destroy humanity? Ha, as for the consumption of resources, this is what you expected, isn't it? What nonsense are you talking about? Ei Diaz ruthlessly exposed the little tricks of these guys. That's a civil war. Indeed, the power of stellar-class hydrogen bombs is huge, but their efficiency in space warfare is low, and because of their huge range of destruction, they are not suitable for use on Earth. However, on battlefields on the surfaces of other planets in the solar system, stellar hydrogen bombs are the most effective weapons, especially in wars between humans. In space, once a war breaks out between humans, there is no need to worry about civilian casualties and environmental damage, and large-scale destruction can be carried out with confidence. At this time, stellar hydrogen bombs can play their role. Everyone knows that with the expansion of humans into the solar system, disputes in the Earth world will inevitably extend to other planets. Despite the common enemy like the three-body world, this cannot be changed, so they are also preparing for this. It is politically unacceptable to develop super weapons to deal with humans themselves at this time, so those Western politicians use Ei Diaz to do what they want to do but can't do. I really want to vomit. Peter's face flushed with anger. If Peter had some expectations for these politicians before, then now Parker is completely disappointed and even disgusted with them. Captain America, this reminds me of one thing. In the Trisolaran world, there are no superpowers, not even super soldiers, so the politicians and governments are fighting for super weapons. So if it were our world, how could those politicians not intend to control us? Magneto, that's what those stupid humans are like. They never change. Whether it's Mila Gian or the former German Three Sons. They are all the same kind of stuff. Magneto, it sounds like you are a mutant too. Captain America, I'm not. I'm a super soldier whose physical fitness has been enhanced after being injected with super serum, but my team also has people with superpowers. Magneto, who? The one with the mustache, Tony Stark. Listen, first of all, I'm a pure human, and secondly, I use high technology. Magneto, what high technology? Human high technology is just a pile of scrap metal in front of me. I can control metal. Tony Stark, then I can make a suit out of polymer nanomaterials. Since you control metals, why don't you call yourself Magneto instead of Iron King? Magneto, that's because I use magnetic fields to control metals. No, the title of Magneto was given to me by the screening room. Tony Stark, look, what a funny thing I saw. A superpower with the ability to control magnetic fields actually used magnetic fields to manipulate metals to hit people. What's the difference between this and using a nuclear bomb as a rock? In the screening room, Tony laughed so hard that he couldn't hold the cheeseburger in his hand steadily. For him, he knew too well how terrifying it would be to be able to manipulate magnetic fields and control magnetic force. Strong force, weak force, electromagnetic force and gravity are collectively known as the four basic forces of the universe. Thinking of this, Tony was a little glad. Fortunately, this guy hadn't read any books. Otherwise, once he realized that he had the ability to release lightning at any time and distort the Earth's magnetic field, who knows what this guy who was obviously not very friendly to humans would do. Bruce Wayne, I still think that people with superpowers should be supervised. Bruce Wayne, letting a group of humanoid nuclear weapons run around the streets is truly irresponsible. Today's update is in the evening, because I repeated yesterday's plot, and it was that female colleague, and there was another one today. I finished writing this chapter now, and they are still working, and ask me to help them mail things, so it's late. Well, it makes sense. Chapter 72, Hickory is cut open, and it is indeed black. Magneto, supervision, who will supervise? Exclamation mark. Those human idiots. Magneto, in the East, there is a saying called heaven is ruthless, which means that God is emotionless and absolutely fair. He will not treat you differently because of who you are. If there is such a being to supervise, I think it will be much more reasonable. Bruce Wayne, it sounds a bit like a robot. Wolverine, forget it, one Ultron is enough to destroy the multiverse. If there is another one, then I really don't want to live. Peter sat down next to Hikaru in anger, picked up a glass of unknown liquid and drank it. I don't know why. Anyway, he likes this flavor of drink very much. Hikaru thought about it and decided not to tell him what this thing is. Mr. Hickory, why do you think they are doing this? Aliens are about to invade the Earth, and they are still fighting each other. Hickory said with embarrassment. Child, from my standpoint, it is not easy for me to comment on the affairs of you Earthlings. When we, the Kingdom of Light, observe civilizations, even if we take action, we will only take action under the premise of resisting foreign enemies. We may also solve some natural disasters, but if there is an internal fight between civilizations on a planet, we cannot take action. We can be shelters and protect you from invaders, but as for the conflicts within your civilization, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. Image continues. Even if the Secretary General of the Planetary Defense Council tries to use international territory and the will face a plan to defend Reidias, the representatives of Melee Giant and the British Sun are still relentless. They don't care about the Doomsday War 400 years later. For them, 400 years is too far away, and they won't live to that time. In this case, why should they sacrifice their own interests for the future? Isn't it enough to live well? The Japanese representative, who was living a good life, also took the opportunity to follow his father and grandfather, to add insult to injury, although we will leave the question of who is the father and who is the grandfather for now. At this time, Diaz suddenly said that he had not yet mentioned a small detail about the Wallfacer project. Then Diaz looked at the group of representatives, just like a tiger staring at a rabbit with a broken leg, like a top predator looking at its prey. You know what? Just now a representative mentioned that 1 million hydrogen bombs have been deployed on Mercury and are ready to be detonated. At that time, I will issue a declaration of mutual destruction of mankind to the omnipresent Sophan to the Trisolaran world. What will happen at that moment? I don't know what the Trisolarans think, but billions of people on Earth must want to break your neck. That's right. That's right. Very accurate. Diaz agreed with this statement and then said, then I must take certain measures to deal with this situation. Everyone, please look, this is it. Diaz held up a watch and said, this is a signal transmitter. The signal it sends goes directly to Mercury through a space link. You all think it sends a detonation message, but you are wrong. It is used to send a non-detonation message. This is called an anti-trigger system. The melee giant representative said expressionlessly. Anti-trigger strategies for strategic nuclear weapons were studied during the Cold War, but they have never been actually implemented. Only a lunatic like you would really do this. Am I crazy? Maybe. Diaz said nonchalantly, it was not the nuclear strategy experts who taught me this wonderful idea, but an American movie. A man in the movie wore this thing. It kept sending signals, but if the man's heart stopped beating, its signal would stop. Another person was equipped with a bomb that could not be dismantled. If the bomb could not receive the signal, it would explode immediately. Therefore, although this unlucky guy did not like the man in front, he still had to do his best to protect him. Of course, the cradle system is more advanced than this. Diaz explained while pushing away the Japanese representative who tried to touch it. The cradle system senses not only the heartbeat, but also blood pressure, body temperature and so on. Anyway, as long as one index is wrong, the cradle system will be triggered immediately. The consequences, I don't need to say more. The representative of Miligian said that they have many ways to crack Diaz's cradle system because they have studied it a long time ago. It doesn't matter. Diaz said calmly, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it's not the cradle connected to Mercury. At this moment, everyone suddenly began to get nervous. New news. We have confirmed that the instrument in the hand of Wallfacer Diaz is indeed emitting electromagnetic waves. Everyone became even more nervous. Then, what kind of cradle is it? Hydrogen bomb. Asshole. I think you are just bluffing. Calm down, Mr. Diaz. I hope you can calm down and talk carefully. There is no need for us to be so tense. The meaning is very simple. I buried a nuclear bomb on the earth, and the cradle system in my hand happens to be used to put that nuclear bomb to sleep. What's more, that nuclear bomb is quite close to us. Diaz's last words popped out one word at a time, and everyone's heart sank a little with every word he said. Mr. Diaz, I hope you can explain it more clearly. The French representative looked very calm, but his voice was trembling. How many lives are you, or we, responsible for at this time? You should know that during the 20 years I was a Wallfacer, I had to do something. Diaz said, responsible? What is there to be responsible for? For me, is there any difference between the life of one person and the lives of 1.2 million people? Warm reminder. 1.2 million people refers to the population of New York City, and the venue is near New York City. Now, the theater exploded. This Diaz is cruel enough. Magneto smacked his lips and asked, is this how he placed a nuclear bomb near New York City? The Wallfacer has extremely high authority, at least in the first 20 years. Strange said, Earthlings don't have any Sophans, so with Diaz's ability, I'm not surprised that he could do this. Now let's just pray that those bastards don't provoke Diaz again. Tony said with an unhappy look on his face. They are idiots, but ordinary people are innocent. Peter didn't want to talk anymore. He was tired. Parker, don't be sad. This happened in another world after all. Hikaru handed Peter a glass of glowing drink and said, our abilities are limited. Even Ultra Warriors cannot cross the universe to uphold justice. What you need to do is to do what you should do and then use your own strength to protect what you can protect within your ability. I understand, Mr. Hikaru. Peter said, I still prefer to drink that. No, Kit, drinking too much of that stuff is bad for your health, believe me. What is that? You don't want to know. It's okay, I'm an adult and can drink. Well, it's a body fluid of a cosmic spider. It tastes really good and is very nutritious, but it may not be suitable for earthlings. Drinking too much may. Look, you vomited. Just like the Emperor is all light when he is cut open, a Guang is indeed all black when he is cut open. Ugh. On Temple 2nd, Thanos had an admiring expression on his face. He now admired the wall-facer Diaz very much and even felt like a soulmate. They all wanted to save the world at all costs, but they were all blocked and misunderstood by a group of short-sighted idiots. It's a pity that we are not in the same world, otherwise, I would like to take in this Diaz. Thanos said with appreciation. There are not many such minds in the entire universe. Maybe I should go to Earth to recruit a few subordinates, and when I get the Infinity Gauntlet, I will go to Earth to see if I can find the isotope of Diaz. An enthusiastic reader pointed out that Thanos and Thanos mean the same thing, which means that I said Thanos' name twice. After my thinking, I decided not to change it. I still think Thanos is easy to say. Oh yeah. I've decided. In the 5th live broadcast, I must play the biography of Hikari and the stage play of Zoffy. The captain is so gentle. The content of the 3rd and 4th live broadcasts has been determined. In the 4th live broadcast, a character who should be known by people of my age will enter. Tip, the author was born in the 2000s. Chapter 73 The Dark Forest about to surface. Diaz faced many representatives and made his final request. Return to his homeland. I want to go home. This is not part of the plan. Diaz walked out of the door and faced the sun for the first time in more than 20 years. At this moment, he was finally able to bask in the sunlight. Many years ago, he thought of the day of the wall-facing plan. He suffered from extreme hepatophobia, and today, his hepatophobia finally healed itself. On the plane that sent Diaz back to Bolivia, Secretary General Gannon tentatively asked about the cradle system. There is no such thing as a bullshit cradle system. That's all bullshit. Diaz took off the watch nonchalantly and handed it to Gannon. Give it to you as a souvenir. It is also a proof of my plan. After a long period of relative silence, Gannon sighed and said, how could this be? The closed strategic thinking privilege of the wall facers was originally intended to deal with Soften and the three-body world. Now, you and Taylor are using it to deal with humanity itself. There is nothing strange about this. Diaz enjoyed the sunshine outside. He had not enjoyed it for a long time. Now, the biggest obstacle to human survival actually comes from itself. 6 hours later, the plane landed at Caracas International Airport on the Caribbean Sea. Gannon did not get off the plane. He would take it back to the United Nations. Don't stop the wall facer project. It is really a hope. There are 2 more wall facers. I wish them a good journey. After saying that, Diaz walked down. Diaz walked down the gangway and smelled the familiar tropical scent. He bent down and kissed the land of his motherland for a long time. Under the escort of the guards, he went to the Plaza de Bolivar in the city center. Diaz got off the car in front of the Bolivar statue and stood on the pedestal. Above him, Simon Bolivar, the hero who had defeated Spain and tried to establish the Republic of Gran Colombia in South America, was wearing armor and riding a horse. Diaz raised his hands and called out to the crowd with tears in his eyes, "Oh, my people." The first stone thrown by his people hit his raised left hand, the second stone hit his chest, and the third stone hit his forehead and knocked him down. Then, the people's stones flew like raindrops and finally almost buried his lifeless body. The last stone thrown at the wall facer Diaz was thrown by an old lady. She held the stone with great effort and walked to the body of Diaz. She said in Spanish, "Evil man, you want to kill everyone. My grandson is among them. You want to kill my grandson." As she said that, she used all her strength and trembled to throw the stone in her hand at Diaz's broken head that was exposed from the pile of stones. Diaz died. He did not die in the assassination of Chico and the Wall Breaker, nor did he die in a foreign country, nor did he die at the hands of Westerners who were full of malice towards him. Instead, he died in his homeland, died at the hands of his people, and died under the bronze statue of Bolivar, a hero who once also wanted to liberate the oppressed people of Latin America, and also fight against invaders. How sad, how ironic. A hero who tried to save the world was killed by the person he wanted to save with a stone under the bronze statue of the hero who also did this. Wallfacer, Rei Diaz, died. 3-Body Dark Forest Part 1, the end. 10 minutes of rest. Members of the screening room can choose to return to their own world. 10 minutes later, play 3-Body Dark Forest Part 2. After watching the ending of Rei Diaz, everyone was quite depressed. Did Rei Diaz do anything wrong? For both the Earthlings and the Trisolarians, he was wrong. Because he wanted to destroy 2 civilizations. But for the Earthlings right now, Rei Diaz was right. Because this is indeed an opportunity for the Earthlings to negotiate with the Trisolarians. Of course, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Rei Diaz can't make so many hydrogen bombs, and the people on that Earth don't have to worry about waking up or not waking up at all, and being sent away in their sleep. The Trisolarians don't have to worry about their new home, which they have finally found, being gone. Congratulations, congratulations. Hickory patted Peter's back gently. He had just vomited all over the place, and his face was a little pale now. Some functions of the screening room are still quite good. Peter's vomit was cleaned up before it even hit the ground. It's really ironic that the man who wanted to defeat the invaders and protect the people was killed by the people he wanted to protect in front of the statue of another hero who did such a thing. Strange looked at the death of Rei Diaz in the last scene, and countless words wanted to come out, but he didn't know what to say. In the end, he could only ask, Stark, if it were you, what would you do? Don't ask me. Now it seems that LUOG has the greatest chance of success. Why? There are only 4 Wallfacers in total, and 2 of them died. Hein's plan has no direct effect on the strengthening of combat power. There is no one else except LUOG. Okay, it makes sense. By the way, no one is going to go back. Don't you all need to go to the bathroom? Tony asked. It's just 10 minutes. Strange also sat down and picked up a cup of tea to drink. Constantine suddenly said, what do you think? Now that 2 of the 4 Wallfacers are dead, what should the remaining 2 do? Didn't we say it? There is still the second half. I guess it will be that LUOG who saves the world. By the way, has anyone noticed the subtitle of the 3-Body Problem, The Dark Forest? Strange asked, why did the screening room give the 3-Body Problem the subtitle The Dark Forest, instead of something like Starry Sky? Dark Forest? Bruce Wayne analyzed the word carefully. I think darkness should refer to the starry sky. Hikaru said, traveling in the universe is actually a very boring thing. After all, the surrounding scenery is nothing but darkness and dotted starlight. So darkness should refer to the universe, and the forest is easy to explain. Tony said, the forest means the law of nature. On Earth, there is the saying that the strong prey on the weak and the fittest survive. Darwin said that the weak will eventually be eliminated, and only the strong can survive. I think this subtitle is also a reference to the competition between the universe. Either destroy other civilizations, or be destroyed by other civilizations. I don't think that's right. Hikaru retorted mercilessly. There are also great differences between civilizations in our universe. Although there are also invasions, our kingdom of light will also help those civilizations that have not yet become strong to resist invasions. In addition, many civilizations have established diplomatic relations with each other and coexist peacefully. There are indeed wars in the universe, but it is definitely not as cruel as you said. Tony couldn't refute it for a while. After all, these were real aliens, and they, a group of Earthlings who had not yet come into contact with extraterrestrial life, had no examples to refute. But your universe has a prerequisite. Bruce Wayne said, that is, there is a group of powerful and righteous cosmic cops in your kingdom of light. In the 3-Body universe, it is very likely that all civilizations are malicious towards other civilizations. Remember the technological explosion and the chain of suspicion? It is very likely that other advanced civilizations are afraid that low-level civilizations will become powerful and control and enslave them in turn, so they will choose to destroy low-level civilizations. There are also disputes over survival resources like the Trisolarans and the people on Earth. I think that it is normal for the universe to maintain war. MD, it turns out that only when it is put on the shelves will I get a full attendance award. What the hell am I going to do with 4,000 words every day this month? Well, there are no female colleagues today, but I still updated late. Chapter 74, Wallfacer Hines, I'm your wall breaker. Who can guarantee that after the low-level civilizations develop, they will not attack the previous high-level civilizations? Since this cannot be guaranteed, then for the sake of their own survival, why can't the high-level civilizations take the initiative to eliminate the low-level civilizations in advance and strangle the threat in the cradle? Bruce Wayne said mercilessly, it doesn't take too many, even if there is only one case. As long as this happens once, other civilizations will be in danger, and then they will begin to suspect each other and destroy each other. It is difficult to have real trust between civilizations. Bruce. Hickory was not angry because of Bruce's words. He continued in a gentle tone, the heart of enthusiasm cannot be extinguished. All people in the world are brothers. They sympathize with the weak and help each other. People from all countries can become friends, even if this feeling has been betrayed thousands of times. This is the truth Ace taught us, and it is also the truth that our kingdom of light must continue to implement. If you completely deny the light of the world because of a hurt, then the real light will never appear. If there is no light in the world, then our Ultra Warriors will transform ourselves into light to illuminate this dark universe. I know, I admit it. People are afraid of darkness, but someone has to take responsibility. Someone has to turn himself into light. If everyone chooses darkness, then light will naturally not descend on this world. Someone has to break this situation. In our universe, we Ultra Warriors have been working hard. We have been maintaining peace in the universe. It is not for the purpose of influencing the universe, but for the hope that the universe can be truly peaceful. People of different races can love each other like a family. The strong help the weak, and when the weak become stronger, they help the new weak, and like this, pass on the light little by little. This is what we Ultra Warriors expect. We hope to travel the universe with people from different universes, and we hope that this universe can be peaceful. There are too many bad things in this world in this universe, but if we don't change it and let it go, instead, we degenerate and choose to go with the flow, then this universe will never truly usher in true peace. Light will never descend. On the road to maintaining peace, we have sacrificed many companions, even if I invented the life solidification technology, but even so, we still did not give up. Because we believe that, as long as we keep doing it, then one day, we will do it. Even if that day is very far away. But we are always on the road. There is such a saying on Earth, that it takes 10 years to plant a tree, and wait for it to grow. So there are two best times to plant trees, one is 10 years ago, and the other is now. Don't give up hope and the light in your heart. As long as we keep moving forward, one day, we will be able to reach the other side of our hearts. Perhaps shocked by Hikaru's words, the entire screening room fell into silence, and only Peter's eyes lit up. He had been mentally exploded by the human politician's operations before, but with the encouragement of Hikaru's words, he finally began to believe in the justice in his heart again. What if the world is dark? After all, someone has to incarnate light. Even if the light is extremely small, it can illuminate the darkness. Several adults were also inspired by Hikaru's words, but they soon regained their composure. There is no way. I have seen more of the darkness of the world, so I don't really believe in the drama of justice defeating evil and heroes defeating demons. Even so, in the deepest part of our hearts, there is still a light that is not shrouded by darkness. 3-Body Dark Forest Part 2 starts. After a long time, LUOG was pushed out of the hibernation cabin by people. At this time, the Earth has completely changed its appearance. All kinds of aircrafts are flying everywhere on the Earth, and human genes have been optimized. Whether it is overall quality or appearance and lifespan, they have been greatly improved. At this moment, LUOG has just been awakened from hibernation. With the future treatment technology, the gene missile that almost took Luog's life was easily eliminated. Luog asked the nurse who took care of him about the current situation. The nurse told him that the Earth now is very different from hundreds of years ago. First of all, human spaceships have made a huge breakthrough. Their current spaceships can fly at a speed of 15% of the speed of light, while the speed of the three-body spaceship is only 10%. At the same time, Luog also learned two pieces of news that excited him. 1. The energy now is unlimited, and food can be synthesized artificially. 2. The Galbei Wallfacer project has become a joke of history, and he no longer has to live a life worse than death for the Galbei project. Great. After recovering, Luog met his former friend, Shi Qiang. Shi Qiang is a very capable policeman. Although he was fired for speaking beautiful Chinese, he is still a conscientious and good policeman. At least his ability is absolutely impeccable. At the same time, Shi Qiang also proposed the famous Guzheng project and encouraged a group of scientists. When they were depressed and desperate, the Galbei aliens said that we are bugs, but you have to know that for thousands of years, dinosaurs have died out. Bugs have not been eliminated. I thought I could live a happy life with my wife and children, but at this moment Luog was notified to attend the last Wallfacer meeting. Go if you want to. Luog rushed over reluctantly. He knew that, as long as he survived this time, he would be free. As a result, the last hearing of the Wallfacer also produced a big news. At the last hearing of the Wallfacer, the current person in charge announced the complete termination of the Wallfacer project. Luog was so happy that he even shed tears. He finally ended this strange and cursed identity. Just when everyone thought that the dust had settled, an explosive news, a drama that lasted for centuries, finally came to an end. The wife of the third Wallfacer Heinz, Yamasuji Kiko, turned out to be a wallbreaker. Wallfacer Heinz, I'm your wallbreaker. The person she wants to break the wall with is her husband, Wallfacer Heinz. Exclamation mark. Well, I never expected that the plot would develop like this. Tony was so shocked that the cheeseburger in his hand fell off. He really didn't expect this to happen. I plan to broadcast The Legend of the North Sea separately. Natural selection. Go ahead for Chapter 75. Watching a small theater. Yamasuji Kiko committed suicide in a room called the Silent Room in the original United Nations. She died by disembowelment. Heinz did not die, but his fate was not much better, because his actual plan was to use the thought stamp to stamp the idea that humans were doomed to fail, and then organize a great human escape. Heinz was undoubtedly very close to success. Even Chico did not notice what he did. He secretly modified a positive and negative sign in the neural code of the thought stamp. It was this small positive and negative sign that led to a completely different effect of the thought stamp. Of course, this has nothing to do with Luog. He is now visiting the new world with his old friend Shi Qiang. But as they chatted, they found something wrong. First, Luog quickly learned that the synthetic food they were talking about was not the kind of food that Luog thought was directly synthesized, but was grown through special means. The reason why it was said to be produced in a factory was not because it could be synthesized artificially, but because the place where the food was grown was changed from farmland to factory. And the infinite energy battery is not really infinite energy, but wireless power supply. The power supply uses microwaves or other forms of electromagnetic oscillation beams to emit electrical energy, forming a power supply field within a certain spatial range. Any electrical equipment within this range can use antennas or electromagnetic resonance coils to receive electrical energy. Luog laughed at himself and thought about it. He was not a wallfacer anymore. He might as well take his wife and children out quickly so that he could live a life with his wife and children. Earth 3 body? Doomsday War? Fuck it. He now has plenty of money and his responsibility as a wallfacer has been cancelled. Just when Luog was about to say goodbye to his past identity and start a new life, an accident happened. A car hit him. Fortunately, Shi Qiang reacted in time to pull Luog away and saved Luog. Then, Luog went to a restaurant for dinner and encountered another assassination. He went home and wanted to buy sleeping pills, but the system sent him a lethal drug. Now, not to mention Shi Qiang a highly capable policeman. Even LUOG found something wrong. They urgently applied for protection and finally came to the conclusion. It was the backup of the Earth Trissolarian organization. The remnants of the Earth Trissolarian organization were wiped out 100 years ago, but some of their remaining small inventions were not completely eliminated. This electronic virus that hunts down that person, based on personal information, is one of them. Therefore, LUOG and Shikai simply moved to the ground to live. Yes, the current human world is divided into two parts, above ground and underground. Most of those living on the ground are hibernators, that is, the ancients from hundreds of years ago. The relationship between these hibernators is very good. Not all of them can cross hundreds of years to meet themselves. At the same time, because of the ideological stamp incident caused by Heinz, the Earth officials had to make a major change in the command personnel of the army. After all, if a staunch escapist becomes a senior commander of the fleet, it will be troublesome. However, this group of soldiers who woke up from the reinforcement plan for the future could not be the influencers of the thought stamp, that is, the so-called stamp people. After all, when they entered hibernation, the thought stamp had not yet been born. It was at this time that an officer named Zhang Bihei became the commander of the natural selection. Finally, after an unknown period of time, the Earth fleet finally ushered in its first direct contact with the Trisolarans. Although this time it was only facing a Trisolaran probe, it was still a moment of historical significance. The three major fleets kept arguing about which side should attack. Finally, the three major fleets definitely joined forces. More than 2,000 warships were lined up to face the Trisolaran probe. People were very confident about this and believed that victory was in their grasp. But at this time, the natural selection entered the forward force state and quickly escaped from the solar system. Seeing this, the Earth side hurriedly sent several warships to pursue, and the main fleet was still waiting for the Trisolarans. Earth was also puzzled. Logically, there shouldn't be any Steel Seal people among this batch of soldiers who would reinforce the future. So there was only one possibility, that is, the commander of the natural selection happened to be a determined defeatist and escapist. Although this little episode occurred, it was not a big problem. Earth was still confidently waiting for the arrival of the Trisolarans. So handsome. Peter's eyes were full of stars at this moment. He was shocked by the more than 2,000 warships. Too handsome. Which boy could resist the charm of a warship? Just like no boy could resist Gundam. Even Tony and others who had been separated from the boys for who knows how long were also very excited. This is another Earth space fleet. Seeing such a grand occasion, how could they, as human beings, not be excited? By the way, is it necessary to show all 2,000 warships? Just to deal with a probe? I've dealt with the military a lot, and I know their character very well. They must feel uncomfortable if they don't show off so many powerful weapons. Tony said. Besides, this is the first confrontation between humans and Trisolarans. If they show a weakness, it will be bad. They must show their strongest power and show the power of Earthlings. Just when everyone was excited, Bruce quietly walked to Hickory and asked, "Mr. Hickory, you don't seem to have much confidence in the human side." "Yeah." Hickory nodded and said, "Although I really hope that humans can win, it's difficult. Since the Trisolarans invaded the Earth with the belief of either success or death, and Sofan did not evacuate the Earth, why did the Trisolarans choose to eliminate only one probe after knowing the combat power of the Earth? Are you careless? Have you given up? Or, still don't care?" Hikaru whispered, "I don't want to hit you, but the warships made by humans in the Trisolaran world are really not that strong. Even a scientist like me can dismantle at least half of such a fleet with my bare hands and then retreat without any injuries." Coupled with the attitude of the Trisolarans, I have reason to draw a conclusion. The current Earthlings are still bugs in the eyes of the Trisolarans. Bruce's pupils shrank. Even in his eyes, such a fleet of warships was very strong, but Hikaru's words once again refreshed his worldview. Dismantling the warships with bare hands and retreating unscathed. Are the warships of the Earthlings in the Trisolaran world too weak, or are these guys too strong and outrageous? Although the natural selection escaped, it did not affect the Earthlings' carnival. In their view, this is just a small episode of victory. Humans have such powerful space battleships, isn't it easy to defeat the Trisolarans? Some people even discussed whether to accept the defeated Trisolarans and proposed 3 versions of the plan. One was to give them Pluto or Neptune satellites to live in, then Mars, and even proposed to let the Trisolarans enter the Earth and accept them. Under the attention of everyone, a probe that looked like a water drop appeared in front of everyone. Everyone felt that this was a sledgehammer to kill a chicken, a cannon to kill a mosquito, and 2,000 cannons to kill a mosquito. Alas, in an interstellar war, size is never the most important thing. Then with a long sigh from Hickory, the human side sent a recovery spacecraft. Among the people who took the spacecraft to recover the probe named Water Drop, there was an old man named Ding Yi. The old man was a hibernator, an outstanding physicist in the 21st century, and even 400 years later, he was still teaching physics at the university. That's right, 400 years later, the old man was still teaching physics at the university. Ding Yi suddenly asked to be the first group of people to contact the Trisolaran detector. Even though it was agreed that the Trisolaran detector would be given to Ding Yi's team for the first batch of research, it was still not possible. Ding Yi insisted on being the first group or even the first person to contact the Trisolaran detector. There was no other way. Ding Yi was highly respected, and the Trisolaran detector did not seem to pose any threat, so they agreed to Ding Yi's request. Before coming, Ding Yi specifically asked his battleship Quantum to enter deep sea mode, which is a deep sea mode that can enter the 4th state of forward movement. Then, he boarded the Mantis to retrieve the Trisolaran detector. Seeing this, everyone in the screening room felt something was wrong. Why do I feel something is wrong? Peter asked puzzledly. I always feel that Professor Ding Yi's eyes were not right before he left. Ultraman Ace, I've seen that look. That's the look that can only appear when you do something with the belief that you will die. Wolverine, the belief that you will die. Wanda, could it be that the Trisolaran detector has a self-destruct device? Captain America, no, that's not right. My intuition tells me that it's not that simple. Loki, if I'm not mistaken, that detector should have an attack device, and it's extremely powerful, so that human is going to risk his life to help the human fleet investigate this trouble. Wanda, but if that's the case, wouldn't Ding Yi just say it directly? Loki, it's not that simple. Who would believe it if I said it? Thanos, the humans on that Earth have been blinded by blind confidence. Not to mention a detector. Even if a whole fleet came, they would still have an absolute advantage over me and would definitely win. Thanos, but even among stupid races, there are smart people. That Ding Yi plans to use his life to warn the world. Thanos. However, if the Trisolaran detector does not cause certain casualties and damage, the Earthlings on that world will not wake up. Bruce Wayne, I'm afraid that the casualties that the water droplets can cause will not be that simple. For the sake of the more than 3,000 words, please forgive me. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.